Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here for another build-up show. It's just me at the moment, but we're going to be joined by members of the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, but also our extended friends and family from the wrestling media world as well. So stick with us. We're going to preview the entire show, talk a little bit about last night as well, because there are some burning topics I'm sure a lot of our guests want to go over as well. But as always, drop your comments. Let us know what you think is going to happen tonight. And yeah, I'll see you right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, once again, welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We're here to get ourselves and yourselves hyped up and in the mood for night 2 of WrestleMania. If you've been here before, you know how it works. It's a real laid-back stream. People hop in and hop out, and we have a good time with it. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, we'll encourage you to press that beautiful red button and subscribe as well. Sludge Sports is back in the building. Thank you, mate, for joining us. It was a late night last night, so I appreciate you coming back with us once again. But hey, if there's anything to get excited about, it is night 2 of WrestleMania. Did you guys talk about the new intro last night? We didn't actually, no. Yeah, there was a new WWE signature, weren't there? The Then, Now, Forever. I've only seen it, I think, the one time. I do want to have a little look back on it and see who's in it and what moments they've selected. From what I remember, it was cool. I quite liked it. But you know what these things are like, you know, who's on good terms with the company? Who do they actually value as a historic player in WWE's storybook? So it'd be interesting to go back and analyze that. But, you know, as wrestling fans, we do, don't we? We all overanalyze this sort of thing. But we got a lot to analyze about tonight's huge card. And I'll be honest, guys, if any of you saw our instant reaction video last night, you'll know. I weren't thrilled coming out of it. I mean, yes, it was 4 a.m. over here in the UK, so that kind of adds to it anyway. But I've been there with adrenaline in my soul, to quote a famous wrestling song. And I've been there that time of night, happy and kind of firing. Last night, didn't feel that way. There were good things about the show, and I don't want to be a downer, but at the same time, there were certainly things about it that I kind of was kind of coming away from it feeling like it was a bit lackluster. Now, night 2, if it's all about making night 2 explosive and number 1 builds towards night 2, then it is where it is. But it's strange when, you know, we're still getting used to this 2-night experience. And last year, what was strange about that was that night 1 was far superior in my mind to night 2. So it's difficult when you're going for it, you know, in even thing, because sometimes, well, a night's going to naturally be better than the other, right? But this year, it feels like maybe they've gone for, that's what I'm hoping at least, that we were setting things slowly. But I mean, really, like moments last night, I don't mean to be a downer. It was a great show if it was called Backlash, right? That's the way I felt. Sami Zayn's moment felt tinged, you know, and I touched on it quite a bit last night with just, you know, personal feelings that shouldn't have been his moment. His moment should have been another one for the world title, and Gable or someone like that should have been the one getting the IC. But again, I've gone into that already quite a bit. And yeah, other than that, like there was no turns. Like, yeah, Rhea had a cool entrance. Yeah. Again, I feel like I'm being super down on it, but I'm holding it to WrestleMania standards. And for me, like, it got me in the mood for night 2, I guess. But that's what these streams are for, not night 1. Night 1 should be, here we are, we're ready, we're doing it. I mentioned there Rhea Ripley, and of course, what it must have meant for her to have motionless in white player to the ring. I'm a big fan of live performances at WrestleMania. Lil Wayne, yeah, I you know, don't think it was great. But the intro for Rhea Ripley was actually really cool. If you haven't already, check out my interview with Rhea Ripley, where I do kind of dig into what got her into alternative music as well. So you kind of see, I guess, the foundations for what we saw last night as well. So if you haven't already, please check that out. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through each and every one of the matches. And as I say, we're going to have guests popping in and out, members of the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling team, but also our friends from the wrestling media as well. We will, of course, inevitably be touching on some of the stuff that happened on night one. So stay tuned. We're going to be here till the very end, basically, of this hype up period, because we're going to be sticking with you live during the countdown show that WWE put on as well. We'll be talking about any last minute rumors we see popping around on social media. We'll be relying on you guys in the comments as well. If you miss anything, you hear anything flying around that you want us to discuss, let us know about that as well. Last night was great. We tried our best not to steer into night two talk. So I'm hopeful that tonight we'll have a lot of fresh conversations and fresh ideas to kind of run through as well. But once again, let us know what you're thinking, guys. Let us know what you think is going to happen on tonight's show. And what did you think of night one? I know this ain't a night one review show, but again, it's inevitable. These things are connected. And like I said, we did have, if you want to see my thoughts a little bit deeper on this afterwards, go back and watch our instant reaction podcast that we did straight after the show went off the air last night. I did that with Rob. And speaking of which, he is here to join me on the stream once again. And we're going to bring him in now. So here we go. Our luchador friend, Rob. How you feeling, mate?
I'm good. Firstly, I've just changed. I've got a new setup. So do I sound okay?
You sound crisp and perfect.
Cool. I mean, I sound a bit raspy. Apologies. But
why? Was you shouting at your TV?
No. But you know what it's like when you're over Mania weekend, lack of sleep, loads of energy drinks, lack of over-consuming food.
Yep.
That's what you do.
Although we did have that fantastic comment yesterday about asking our WrestleMania meals. I'm hoping there'll be some new WrestleMania meals being thrown up today. Even The Rock mentioned having a cheat meal after his conference.
Please don't say WrestleMania meals being thrown up today. I feel like
okay, that's not
the right wording.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Right. Yeah, Rob, how are you feeling about night two now that we're getting closer to it? I know again we were a little bit down about some of the aspects from night one. Yeah, both sides of that really. Are you feeling any better about night one now that we've moved away from it a few hours? And how are you feeling going into night two?
Look, I'm excited for it, all right? I mean, it's WrestleMania. There's going to be highs and lows in every WrestleMania, even every PLE. So I am looking forward to it. I think the only thing is it may have left a little bit of a sour taste in a few people's mouths after yesterday's show. But other than that, man, I'm not too fussed. Like,
yeah, I'm concerned that at the end of the night, I'm gonna feel the same way I did last night, or possibly worse if certain results don't go certain ways, and then go, oh, the whole thing was, it'd be hard to see the good, because again, there was good in last night. I did enjoy the presentation of that match between Sami Zayn and Gunther. It just wasn't what I think should be happening for either one of those people. But the match itself was fantastic, and I can't deny that. At the same time, I really enjoyed the presentation of Jade Cargill, but it was tinged with, there was no surprise turn, and yeah, all right, we could be telling a further story here, a bit more long-term. That's okay. But when we didn't have, a surprise here, and we didn't have a turn here, and we didn't have a shocking result here, and you know what I mean? Like, and the one that was supposed to, I think, was advertised as a shock, like, while it still, I guess, was a shock, it wasn't the one. It wasn't what it could have been. And again, that's the IC thing. I don't want to get too bogged down on it, but so Sludge has got Taco Bell for the WrestleMania meal tonight. Or might just have some Nando's. I've just been watching CM Punk's, finally getting around to the CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani.
I thought Sludge was American. But he's having Nando's. It must be English.
Right? There are some Nando's in the States. Is
there? I did not know that.
In Washington, DC, there's a few of them. They're growing. Over there, at least. You know what's really weird? I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I might mention it in Talking Beans. I was watching a Raw from '97 on the network, and it was in South Africa. And Road Dogg, I think it was Road Dogg, picked up a sign that someone had that was calling people chicken, like you're a chicken, whatever. And the font was the Nando's font. And it was a Nando's sign. How cool is that? From 1997 on Raw. There we go. A little callback to pro wrestling. Sludge is Australian. There we go. I think that might have come up before, but thanks for clarifying for us, especially for Rob, who needs to know your local takeaway infrastructure. Let's just start jumping into, I guess, match per match as we usually do. Again, we've done our predictions a few days ago already. We're locked in solid now. We can't change them, but as always, be interesting to see if the comments would have swayed us, or if anything that's happened on night one or anything that happened on SmackDown, for example, would have swayed our opinions as well. First of all, from the outset, what do you think? Because I don't think we've had it confirmed yet. What do you think should be the opener? What would you like to see?
Have you got the card?
Yeah. So we've got, what do we have? I'll go for it quickly, and then you can tell me what you think. We've got the Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. We've got the Street Profits and Lashley versus AOP and Karrion Kross. We've got the US title triple threat. We've got a women's championship match between Io and Bayley. We've got AJ and LA Knight. And of course, we've got what won't be going on first, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. What are your thoughts overall as far as what you'd like to go on first?
Is it strange that I feel like all those other matches on, I don't want to say that way because I feel like it's disrespectful, but they don't feel like a night 2 first match contender, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I just so people know, by the way, those who are watching live or on demand, because I'm looking this way, I have a second screen. I have a screen there and a screen here, and I can't get both screens to go forward. So if I look this way, I'm not looking away from you. I am looking at another screen now. I'm trying to research.
All right, it's fine. Very unprofessional.
I haven't got 2K24, I promise you. Well, I have got it, but I'm not playing it. I think maybe the triple threat, that might be the safest bit. You don't want to open again with the other women's match because they've done that for night 1.
Yeah, true.
And I don't think they want to stink the place out at the beginning with the Lashley and Street Profits feud.
So harsh, but I agree. Sludge Sport says the triple threat should open. So yeah, you have a think about that, Rob. What we'll do in the meantime, we'll bring on our good friend Andy Spores of Wrestling Royalty. So here he is. He's tuning in. We got to appreciate this special guest now because he's tuning in not from England, but from Philadelphia. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good, but you've just hyped me up, and I'm in a hotel room, so you won't really be able to tell where I actually am. I could be anywhere, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just not too far away down the street. My hotel is just down the street from the Liberty Bell, so it's a pretty cool area to be in.
Nice.
But thanks for having me, guys. I've been watching until now, and I feel like I've got to come in with some energy and like hype up last night because it's feeling a bit flat.
I mean, you were there, and let's be honest. You got to be honest with yourself, Andy. Being there in person maybe makes it better than it is, but I feel like you were, you enjoyed it maybe a bit more than we did.
By the sounds of it, I don't think that would be too difficult. But yeah, and there's a couple of things because obviously, like when you're here, and if anyone's been to a Mania before, if anyone is at the Mania now or anything, there are a few things I kind of got to like tell you because it comes across very differently in person, as you say, than it does on TV. And because of the way that the kind of now it's Peacock in the US versus the network, I haven't had a chance to actually watch it back, but we've seen it on the TV in a couple of places. Now, normally there's little things like the crowd has lights on it. Now, I don't know if it didn't look like that had that on the TV. So it looked like it was the darkness behind, which I've read some comments on social media saying like, you know, the crowd was very quiet. It was like a dead crowd. And I think little bits like that where like I saw it and I was like, oh, wow, like this is ridiculous because in person, stuff like Jay's entrance was one of the coolest things I've seen. It was like 70,000 people doing his like, you know, that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Lil Wayne thing was confusing in person as it was on TV. Like, they got in, I wonder how much he was paid to do 3 lines of a milli and then just like nothing else. It was very bizarre. So there was stuff that didn't pay off in the stadium or at home by the sounds of it. But the biggest thing I've got to say, have some sympathy for the live crowd, because it was like 6 degrees in the stadium, and there was a wind picking up. It was cold, man.
But they made sure to let us know that about every 10 minutes. They had a weather graphic, Andy, to tell us how cold it was and what the wind chill felt like as well. So
we could see that on the Titantron, or you want to kind of call it. One of the screens had it when they flashed that graphic up. And I think they were kind of lying, because it was definitely colder than they were trying to make out it was. And I was like, this is how bad it was. There were kids who were crying to go home because it was so cold.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh at that, but
no, I know what you mean though. But like, there was definitely some dads who were just like, we are not leaving until I've seen The Rock. Like, I'm not going home. So like it's not a great condition in terms of like getting proper jumping around, and you might see that in the likes of LA or Orlando. But yeah, I'll preface it with that. That experience isn't the best, and it's kind of like, it feels like you know, my diamond shoes are too tight sort of thing, because you shouldn't really complain. You're at WrestleMania, but you know, when you see this stuff where it's not too loud. But I do think like there were some great moments yesterday, and probably in retrospect, when thinking about it, they were even better than I thought. Like, the closing tag match was fantastic. I thought Jade Cargill looked an absolute star. Like, yes, she didn't kind of have to do too much, but they definitely kind of like had that vehicle, that match, just to make her look as great as possible. The opening match, I personally thought 5 more minutes would have pushed that into like a fantastic match territory, and they stopped just short of it. But it was very solid. I thought I don't get it. I follow American football loosely, but like the finish of the Mysterio match was like, seemed to go down very well, because it was like a Philly like link. You know, and like, I know AEW gets a lot of like negativity because they don't introduce people, like, and they kind of that, you have to have that pre-understanding of who they are. Like, I don't know as a Brit sitting in Philly who that guy was, other than the brother of a guy who's dating Taylor Swift. I don't know what that actually is. So yeah, as I say, there's definitely things where they've missed a bit. I'll ask you guys a question. Did you feel like it was like a WrestleMania 40? Because there's a difference between having a WrestleMania and then having like a sort of like, you know, an anniversary WrestleMania. It definitely felt lacking, but I was interested what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I don't actually think they've played into the anniversary as much as they usually do. I mean, yeah, they've said 40, but the biggest tagline have been like, biggest WrestleMania ever and the biggest main event ever. They did that for Brock and Roman 2 years ago. It feels like they're more focused on that than the actual anniversary. So, I mean, yes, 40 isn't 50 and isn't 25, but still they bigged up 30 quite a bit, I felt.
Yeah, like even the intro video, because is the guy's name? Is it Meek Mills or something?
Yeah, they didn't do, which was good, but they didn't do they didn't do much of a, I don't know. WrestleMania 20 is a great example of like being like, this is a historic event. You know, this is an anniversary event. But I don't know. Yeah, like I just kind of felt like last year, like I know it was LA, but they had like Kevin Hart doing it. It made it feel like it was like a big thing. And there was rumors they were going to get there was rumors they were going to try and get Stallone to do the intro video and make it like a big thing. Obviously with the Rocky theme and Philadelphia, etc. But and then I know they had that kind of package about 3/4 of the way through, where they had some of the superstars saying this is what WrestleMania means. But in some respects, I was like, if you put that on at the top of the show, you get the idea that WrestleMania 40 is this like big thing, and like, you know, it's WrestleMania, and then that kind of hype package with Meek Mills, maybe that's the one that they put on before the main event or something. I don't even know who the guy is. I don't know if he's like a Philadelphia local or something, but you know, there was missteps, but I also think it was probably very consistent. Like the worst match was Jimmy and Jay, but I think most people were probably expecting that because
their move sets are so similar, and even the build wasn't as kind of like fulfilling as you'd probably want a brother versus brother match to be. So like I think most people were expecting that, but what I will say, which is very positive, this is the first time we've had a 2-night WrestleMania where it feels like there's a thread through both of them because of the main events. So like it definitely feels like it's warranted to have a 2-night event because you kind of want to see the payoff from the first night in the second night rather than it being 2 standalone nights. So I do feel that's cool. And like I think there'll be a lot of people possibly thinking the same as what I'm thinking, which is Cody was always going to be losing yesterday because you really need to build up. This is the ultimate underdog. He's got to overcome insurmountable odds, and like Michael Cole staying at the end, and Cody Rhodes is screwed. And then you kind of like, all right, so it's setting up nicely for night 2, and you kind of want to watch that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do tonight. I feel like they've got to really kind of push this as a WrestleMania tonight, and I also thought, my on the main event in particular, I know my thoughts are kind of all over the place here, but the main event in particular, there was no Solo, there was no Jimmy, there was no like kind of like shenanigans really.
Surely, yeah, that's setting up for, because everybody thinks there's going to be some wild, thing at the end, right? So
yeah, so it kind of feels like did they hold back to really kind of overbook this last match in the best way possible to go, actually, we're going to throw everything at it because they've said you ain't seen nothing yet, and like things are just kind of like just getting started, and Triple H coming out and saying like this is a new era. They've got to be brave in what they're doing and kind of go for it. And with it being 40, do they bring out Cena? Do they bring out Stone Cold or Hogan or all these kind of people? And I do feel to kind of make WrestleMania huge in terms of what it should be, they've got to do something special tonight now.
100%, yeah, because it does feel like it looks like maybe we are setting in from one night to the next, and maybe it's got to be seen as an overall package. It's just difficult when the other years haven't felt that way. It's felt like one was better than 2 last year. So it'd be interesting to see if it is an overall package, and we can look at it completely different and go, those were like the preliminary matches, which is kind of how I felt last night. We're going to bring in Skillet now as well, one of our good friends of the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. He's not as far away, I don't believe. He's not quite in Philadelphia, but still happy to have him along for the ride as well. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. You can hear me okay, right? I hope
all
the mic
good, all good.
All right, wicked. How are you guys? Good to see you all again.
Yeah, really good, man. What did you think of last night? Do you think it is kind of, as we were just saying there, almost a preliminary side of WrestleMania and it's kind of all about night 2? Or do you feel like there was a misstep?
I didn't initially see it that way. I did definitely see it as a misstep. I didn't think it would be like a preliminary, like, this is just a build up and then we're going to really go ham tonight. I just felt it was a bit underwhelming last night. I'm not sure what kind of went wrong. I know you guys are talking about the weather conditions that could have played a part, but some of the matches for me didn't really pay off like I would like I hoped. I really enjoyed the main event. I think the main event was fun.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed the tag team ladder match. Everything else, there was
no wow factor, was there? There was nothing that you went, that's the thing I'll remember. And again, there's loads of room for that on night 2, which almost too much room for that. It does feel like the card is kind of mixed up for that reason. But last night we did an instant reaction, and me and Rob were kind of felt bad that we were kind of down on the event. It felt like, and I said this a few times, if this was a normal PLE, I'd be like, great show. But it's a WrestleMania.
It's WrestleMania. That's what it is.
If it's not time for Jay to turn, that's okay. If it's not time for, what'd you say? What's his name? Gable to win the IC, that's okay. Maybe Sami should have. It's all these little things that added up. And again, the tag team, I really enjoyed that. Have they been better? Of course they have. It doesn't make it bad, but there was nothing from the show that went, man, I'll remember that for a long time.
Exactly. I totally agree. Like, I know Andy was talking about the Jade Cargill debut, and yes, they did everything to protect her and make her really look like a star. That was a nice standout moment, but I just feel like, it was a bit, I was very underwhelmed by the whole thing, but I did enjoy the main event. I'll say that much.
Andy, what do you feel like the reaction for Sami Zayn was like in person. It looked like as the match was going on, it was such an incredible match. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it was hard to get invested in something that I didn't actually want to happen. Like I've been saying all along, it should have been Gable doing this. And not only that, Sami should have been in the world title picture. Now, look, I'm excited about Drew. He's been on a mega run and we can't have both things. This is kind of the awkwardness of Sami Zayn. Same thing happened last year with Cody Rhodes in his kind of position as well. But how was it in person, mate? Were people kind of rooting for him just because they were maybe going to see history, or was there a little bit of reservation behind him potentially winning as well?
First of all, there was some technical issues with the sound in the stadium. So they played that the video before where he saw his wife and his son. Yeah. We couldn't hear that conversation. You could see they were talking, and it would kind of come in and out. And then you saw that Gable was there. We literally heard nothing of that. And then we obviously saw Kevin Owens. And then, like, I think it's more me as a wrestling fan and like writing about it and talk about it a lot. And I was like, well, hold on a second, something's up here, because that's like not a flashy entrance, but storytelling wise, if he now fails, that is going to crucify like Sami going forward, because then he'd be like, he just let down all the people who's like really believing in him. So it's kind of building up. So there was kind of the signs were there, but when it came to the actual like win, I will say the crowd went crazy when he did his kind of like hulking out moment on the floor, when he'd taken like a couple of the big splashes and stuff. But the moment the referee's hand hit 3, I'm not talking it like Brock Lesnar style against Undertaker, people were being shocked. There was this kind of moment where like, really? Like really we're going with Sami, like Sami's the guy to end this reign. And then I think people then went, oh no, actually I am happy because Sami's a great guy. I think it was just that initial thing of like, okay, like that's a choice. And maybe that's what it was. It was, no one was like 100% behind either guy. Like, I don't think Gunther's done a great job in terms of being like ultra heel, because he's this, I think people like see him as like, he is a wrestling guy in a sports entertainment company and kind of stands out for that reason. And he's kind of popular for it. But I also think Sami Zayn is just such a likable character and guy that people are like, okay, I'll give WWE this one because they've been moving in the right direction. They must have a plan of where they wanted to go with this, that most likely will include a Gable, because I think watching it back, Gable said something about a "remember you owe me" one, and that's quite a poignant line to kind of throw in there. But definitely the live reaction, I would say, was kind of indifferent. Like, I don't think people were mad. I don't think people were ecstatically happy, but in the moment, people were just shocked more than anything.
I mean, I felt bad for kind of not being happy for Sami Zayn, because it was a good match. Like, it was a really good match, I got to be honest. The ending was fantastic. But I think it's just that reservation of like you say, no, kind of indifferent about both, because we both know this isn't what we want. It's not quite to the level of Cody not being in the main event that drama could have caused. But still, it didn't sit well with me. Skillet, going back to you, mate, what are your thoughts, generally speaking, on the IC situation and Gable potentially now going after Sami? Does it matter as much?
I mean, I agree with you. I was a bit disappointed with the ending as well. I love Sami Zayn. Like, Sami Zayn is one of my favorite guys, but he's already a made star, in my opinion. He doesn't really need this rub of being the IC champ.
Fourth title reign as well.
Yeah, he's been the IC champion multiple times. I feel like this would have been a great way to kind of elevate Chad Gable. Like, even if like, just having Chad do the long reign of chasing after Gunther. And I understand, like, they probably wanted Gunther to lose the title because, Cody hopefully is going over tonight. And, Cody and Gunther will finally get into a program sometime this year, maybe SummerSlam or something. You saw them two go at it at Royal Rumble a few times, you know what I mean? So, they're probably looking forward to doing stuff like that with Cody's reign, but I just feel like this is a missed opportunity. I feel like that the way you built up Gunther and had him as the IC champ, the reigning IC champ, dominating everything, making people invest back into a mid-card title. Nobody cares about mid-card titles anymore. They did that with Gunther, and the fact that it's not somebody new to win the title, it's a bit. I feel it's a bit.
It loses that shine.
Yeah,
so it loses that what you built it up to be.
Yeah, I love Sami, but yeah, I kind of wanted it to be Gable.
And Sami needed a moment like that, but for the world title. Sorry, what was that, Rob?
So I was just gonna say, like, obviously I know you guys. I don't know how long you're here for, so I'm trying to be quiet so you guys can talk because me and Scott kind of covered a lot of this.
We've done it to death.
In a reaction.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, crazy props to Sami Zayn because obviously I believe he's still fasting for Ramadan, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
again,
Yeah.
this was another performance of Sami Zayn. I mean, I don't understand the culture completely. You know, like I know they eat at a certain point and they fast until you know. So I don't know the time frame and the zones, obviously here in the UK to America, but still to be able to do that and as Andy was saying, in that cold weather, like his body must have been screaming for like just fuel me with something. So for him to go out and put that performance on was, you know, you can't take that away from him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't think anybody would. Like, he's one of the best performers. Like, he's incredible. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just a shame it was him that was in this situation with instead of Gable. It's the same thing that we said about Edge winning the Royal Rumble. Great to see Edge win the Rumble, but it didn't need to be Edge at that time.
Yeah. He could still been in that same position, And Cody, you know, I mentioned again, as much as I want Cody to finish the story tonight, I also didn't want him to win the Royal Rumble. So it doesn't mean you don't like the guy. It just, you know what I mean? You don't appreciate their work. It's just some people need to be in certain positions to get the most out of them. Who are we to tell a man like Triple H with a pencil, it seems. But still, at the same time, I think we've got valid opinions here. Got a few comments here as well about the Seth Rollins match. We've got Andre Newby joining us from GB. Thanks for joining, mate. Thanks for tuning in. I think Seth Rollins is going to win. And Yogesh says, I believe Seth will keep the championship in Cody's match. He would betray Cody. And at Backlash, it'll be Cody versus Seth for the title. Now, I really hope that doesn't happen because, you know, I want the story to be finished. But I got really scared. I mentioned it on last night's build-up as well, that when they first announced it, I was like, hey, he's the kind of character that would do this. And my big fear as well, and we'll get to the Cody stuff a little bit more later on, my big fear is, well, they weren't going to have Roman lose the title at WrestleMania or Cody weren't going to win it at WrestleMania. So surely how much has really changed? You know, are we just getting the match to appease us, or are we actually getting what we actually want? For the most part, I'm sure there's some people out there that don't want Cody to win it. Swing it round to you first of all, Andy, because I know you've got to hop off soon because you're heading down to the venue itself. You lucky man. But Drew and Seth, what do you think is going to happen there, mate? Because are you in the same camp as me that the last few months I've just been waiting for someone to take the title off of Seth anyway?
Yes and no. The whole thing is like, obviously there's a lot being made about Drew's contractual status and whether that's going to play a part in terms of could you put a title on someone that's not signed a deal. So like that aside, I think you've got to look at it from the perspective of Drew's been telling Seth that his whole focus has been elsewhere. You know, he's helping out with the Bloodline stuff, and then in comes CM Punk, and then Drew's focus is completely gone off. So I wouldn't discount the fact that CM Punk is going to be ringside, and then something's going to happen there, because obviously, as much as it looks like the story of Cody and he's got to overcome these insurmountable odds, they really threaded that Seth's knee is completely gone again, or like Seth's knee's in bits, and they're going to build him up that Drew's got easy pickings. I watched Drew's like social media stuff earlier where he sat in his hotel room saying it's going to be the easiest paycheck he'll ever pick up, just get his ass to the ring, which is great. And I think Drew's been doing probably some of his best work he's ever done during this run. But I just have this feeling that he takes his eye off the prize and gets like a sort of maybe like a roll-up pin win for Seth. I also wouldn't be massively shocked to see Damian Priest cash in on Seth tonight after winning.
I mean,
yeah.
Damian, I mean, I'm telling you, Damian Priest is probably one of the worst Money in the Bank briefcase holders I think I've ever seen. The amount of opportunities he has had to cash in, I mean, just take from Rumble to now on Seth. You know, he got injured by Drew. He's been injured by Shinsuke Nakamura. He got in the prime time for him. Slim easy pickings was last night after that main event, and still he didn't. Like, I just
now, is it because they creatively don't have something for him to do it, or is it because they do have something really big and we'll all go, you know what, it's worth waiting for it?
Well, they might do. You know, Seth was the only Money in the Bank holder to ever cash in and make a match into a triple threat match. He's the only one that's ever done that. No one's ever done that before. So Drew could be not Drew. Sorry, Damien could be the second one to do that tonight, and he might cash in and turn the match into a triple threat where the Judgment Day might help him out win the title. I don't know. It's an interesting one because I agree with Andy. Like this is the best work Drew's ever done. I've been so invested in Drew, and I kind of want him to win it if I'm honest. But then at the same time, Seth's WrestleMania record hasn't been the best. So I kind of feel like Seth kind of needs to win as well. So I'm very conflicted, but that's a good thing. We can't really call it, which is great.
Well, that's it. I mean, you're right. Seth's been in kind of his background role for a while, and we all know. Let's not kid ourselves. It is the secondary world title. And at the moment, there is a chance, like back in the day when there were two before, that one would be elevated more than the other for a few months, and then it would switch. But at the moment, and Seth's doing a good job establishing the title, but as much as I do want him to lose it, I get where you're coming from there, Skillet, because in the past, again, and even at the moment, he's playing second fiddle in a feud to kind of help Cody. It's all about Cody and Cody's story and this other title. And, they've even allowed Roman to take shots at Seth and the title, which I've been very shocked by as well. So interesting to see where it goes there. And all these kind of theories about Damian Priest are also great. I know the other day, Rob was saying, what if Drew wins it? And then Priest cashes in on Drew straight away. And Drew's like, what the hell, man? You ruined my moment. And I've, once again, it's been robbed from me. But that could be exactly the same scenario if, all right, Drew doesn't win it and is cashed in on. But as you say, Skillet, it's made a triple threat. And Drew also goes, whoa, what is going on here? I finally got my moment and you took it from me. Going about a heel like that is tough. Saying another heel screwed a heel was a bit tough, and of course Priest now got Glasgow to think about and all that kind of stuff as well. But it's acrylic causing seeing your empty briefcase. Yeah, maybe that's the problem. He's lost the contract inside.
We was at a WrestleMania party yesterday, and obviously there's loads of banter flying everywhere. And we said, what would it be great for Priest? Would have been as R-Truth went up and got one set of titles, he put the money in the bank on top. So Priest had to go out and it would have distracted. It would have just, or a nice touch of someone else to get it to take it off Priest because it's so bad. I mean, we've had some bad runs with that Money in the Bank briefcase. And I actually think this is the worst one. I mean, I really
over Otis.
Otis is the worst because he should never bloody won it.
Yeah, I know, but he didn't have enough time to do anything with it. It's only into a lunchbox. And by the time he realized that he was a lunchbox, the Miz had it. I mean, Damien Sandow, and I'll go out and say it, Damien Sandow has had a better run with that Money in the Bank briefcase than Damien Priest has.
I was gutted they wasted Sandow.
I mean, Sandow's looked like a massive chocolate bar. It was so good, and
it gets extra points because it looks like a chocolate bar. And Damien,
of course. But Priest is just. If there was ever a stupid thing to say, like, oh, we've got a stupid wrestler with guaranteed that title win, it's Priest. Because I mean, come on now.
Yeah, if Sludge is coming up, some great kind of opposing answers there. Otis, of course, we touched on. Lesnar was good because of the just only for the meme of him with the Ghetto Blaster, and then also Theory. He cashed in on a US champ as well. And
yeah, but he cashed in. He done something. At least he
tried as well, didn't he? He tried numerous times, and then to be fair, his justification was, I was never going to get anywhere near Roman because every time you do, the bloodline just screw you over. But like. I was giving Damien Priest the benefit of the doubt, going, "Oh, he can't cash in because Seth's not there." That makes kind of like, I guess, like loose sense. But this week alone, Monday night, he had Seth basically destroyed by The Rock and Roman. Why didn't he cash in then? He had it last night again. He had the chance then. It's like it's kind of we as wrestling fans can suspend our disbelief for a lot of things, but when it becomes to like proper things where like anyone can see, it doesn't make logistical sense or any kind of like logical sense. You've got to then start thinking something's going wrong. There's a disconnect. But I don't even think, to me personally, I want to see him as a world champion because I don't think his star's that big. I don't think he has the clout to pull it off. And that's not anything against him. I've interviewed him. I think he's a lovely guy to speak to. I think he's a big guy, and I think he could hold an IC title really well. I just don't know if he has that star power. And I know he spoke about it before. I just don't think he's got that kind of star power, and he needs maybe a Mania moment to push him over the edge. But even then, does that again diminish the belt that Seth's been trying to build up into where it is now?
I think that's the thing as well. There's huge line of main event type stars that could hold that title as well. So I know it's all, we always say the Money in the Bank is about, in my opinion, getting someone to the next level, and this is how you do it. And we're kind of almost now going, yeah, I don't know about that. And maybe, as you say, suspending disbelief and stuff like that. Maybe if he cashes in tonight and does do something, we can all go in character. He can go, I was waiting for the big moments. I was waiting for the bright lights, and we can do that. But if he doesn't do it tonight and then he don't do it in the Raw for SmackDown, it's really starting to get lost.
I get it if you want to do it on a grander stage of the all, right? I get it. Seth, I mean, at the moment, Seth's the only one to do it. There's been some amazing cash-ins. I mean, we had Seth's at Mania. Scott, you were there for when Dolph Ziggler cashed in. Arguably, that's my favorite cash-in of all time. But if you know full well you're going to get a title and go on a run with it, your memorable moment is you cashing in. And let's not forget, Priest isn't on his own. He's a part of a faction.
To be fair, he's had probably more chance than anyone. Yeah,
exactly. That amplifies even more the fact that he has people to protect him. So how he still hasn't cashed in is the stupidest Money in the Bank briefcase holder I think we have ever witnessed.
Gosh. And as Andy said, he's such a nice guy. So.
but in character, I mean, outside, I mean, the interviews that I've seen him do, it's great. It looks lovely. But when it comes to him trying to cash in, the lights on, but no one's home.
Oh gosh, well maybe there is tonight, and maybe we'll see a big moment. I'm gonna get to a few of these comments here, and then I'm gonna swing it back to Andy, because again I know he's got to get off in just a moment, so I want to find out his thoughts, of course, on the main event. The critic says at least about Rhea cashed in his briefcase. Andre's been hearing rumors apparently about a Cena Austin Theory rematch. Cena not having a good 2023, and he hasn't really had much to do in 2024 just yet. But yeah, I don't see that happening. Theory seems to be caught up in this. Obviously, he's a tag team champion now, so we'll touch on that, I'm sure, going forward as well. The deal, says Damien's better off handing the briefcase to Mami and having her cash in on the women's match tonight. Two belts for Rhea Ripley. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, but. Hey, I like all these kind of theories. And then apparently, Dom possibly stole the contract as well. Right. Like I say, get to a few more of these comments in a moment, guys. Keep them coming in. Thank you so much for joining us live. Going to hand over once more to Andy, just so we can relieve him of his duties here, because, again, I know he's got to rush down to the stadium. But, Andy, before you get out of here, however you can, summarize your thoughts and feelings going into a main event, and what you think is going to happen, and ultimately what you'd like to. Okay, there we go. We've got it. How much that cost you, mate? Did that set you back something down there, or?
I don't know. I don't know if my wife's watching, so I'm just not going to say anything.
All right, good idea.
It cost me X amount of money. Yeah. No, I to be honest, I wasn't going to buy a Cody Rhodes t-shirt, and then I'm lucky enough. I watched wrestling occasionally with my daughter, who's 6, and she always goes, "My favourites are Becky and Cody." So I've kind of had this now emotional attachment with Cody, and I feel like as well, it's a bit overplayed with them saying finish a story and things like that. But again, I do feel like storytelling 101, the way they've built this up, there's only one way it can end, because quite frankly, for it not to end that way, not only finishes the story, it finishes Cody. And I know not all stories have a good ending or a happy ending for the person, but if the referee counts to 3 and Roman wins tonight, we're in Philly. And yes, there was boos for Cody last night, but let's not forget, this is the same place where Roman got booed out the building for winning the Royal Rumble, and The Rock was next to him. But I just feel at this stage, it's time. You've got someone who's proven consistently over the last 2 years that they can hold the company, they can track, move forward with it. They're in safe hands. How often in this day and age can you see someone last as a baby face for 2 years, amongst all the kind of sharks of Twitter who are happy to tear you down? And Cody's done that. He's managed to move forward as a white meat baby face, and done it very well. And I feel like even if you look past that and you go, right, who's Roman got after this outside The Rock? And even then after The Rock, what happens then? Because that means the title's stuck between 2 people who aren't really massively believable to beat anytime soon. So then the title's stuck for longer. Whereas Cody wins it, you unlock the rest of the roster for title shots. You unlock that for everyone else. Roman and Rock, I think, is coming. And I think that starts tonight because of the way, to me, it's I have called this the whole way through where I thought Rock would be the one to get the pin last night, because if Roman loses tonight, Rock can turn around and say, I gave you every opportunity to get the job done. As tribal chief, I acknowledged you. I gave you the win on Saturday, and then on Sunday, you dropped the ball. You're no longer my tribal chief. And that's how that happens. And then I think there's money on the table for The Rock and Cody to have a match, and Rock say, I'm going to get the job done myself. And maybe at SummerSlam. And then at SummerSlam, have Roman come out and cost The Rock the title. And then that leads forward to their match in the future. And then it's not just about respect and find out who's best. You've got a more meaty storyline to go into, that there's a little bit of blood hatred there as well. So I just can't see past it being Cody tonight. I really can't. And I hope for his sake and the company's sake, there's a big pop for it, and Philly's behind it and kind of buys into it. And I think they'll get a long while to do it. And I say at the top of the show, I think they'll overbook it, but let it be the last 5 minutes is just the two of them. Don't make it a screwy finish. Like, let Cody fully earn it and get everyone's respect for doing it one-on-one.
Yeah, my thing is that the Bloodline stuff has to backfire, and Cody kind of does it his own way, as you say. But before we get you out of here completely, Andy, once again, thank you so much for joining us, mate. A critic's got a question for you. Wants to know, can you tell us in 3 words what it's like to be there, mate? What it's like to be in Philly at the moment and experience WrestleMania week?
Cold, exciting, and amazing. I think if you've been to a WrestleMania, there's no feeling like it. If you're a wrestling fan, it is like your sort of mecca, I guess, to go to. And if you ever get the opportunity to do it, yes, you've got to kind of just go, it's going to cost some money. Like, there's no way around that. It's got a little bit more expensive as the years have gone on. We're now got 2 nights. But there's a feeling around Philly. Like, you see wrestling fans walking around and you hear people just shouting, yeah, or like yeet out their car. And it's like people are excited, and it's a special feeling. It doesn't matter where it is in the country. It's always going to be a big deal and exciting. And yes, it's cold, but people are here, and you see people in the crowd talking to each other that they've never met before, and you can just have a chat. I bumped into a good friend of Skillet today. I was having a good long chat for about half an hour with James D'Lo, Gorilla position, to him, and producer Ben was lovely as well. Make sure the show, because those guys do great work, as well as everyone on this show as well. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to Mania, just take it. This is my 5th, and it's still as exciting as it was on the first one.
Always good to hear, mate. Always good to hear you talk wrestling as well, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Looks like your hotel Wi-Fi held out as well. So props to wherever you're staying. And mate, have a good time. And you're always welcome on this channel.
Nice one, Andy, man. Good to hear from you, bro. Talk soon.
Enjoy it. I hope everyone enjoys WrestleMania Night 2, and it lives up to the billing that they've been given the whole way through to.
Let's hope it does. See you later, mate. Bye. All right. With that in mind, once again, go follow Andy at Sporsy19 on X, and check out what he's got to say over there as well. Again, bring you live content at the moment from Philadelphia, so we really do appreciate him joining us. Let's swing it back around to you, though, Skillet. How are you feeling about the main event? Because, of course, we had a chat this time last year about Rock and Roman being surely the plan, and it makes sense. We haven't really had a chat about it recently. I'm guessing you're happy with a pivot to Cody. And I remember 100. As well, when we were at Clash at the Castle, correct me if I'm wrong, you were kind of very in the Roman camp. You liked the idea of Drew winning in Cardiff, but ultimately you were happy that Roman had kept the title. That's and right. I guess you saw bigger things coming around the corner. We all thought it would be last Mania. It weren't last Mania. Yeah. How are you feeling going into this one?
I was happy that Reigns retained at Clash of the Castle. I just think with the whole build-up with the Bloodline, I don't think Reigns was ready to lose it at that point. I do think they were doing they were stepping on new ground with booking, and I feel like with this whole making Reigns a long-term champion was what was needed. And it still is needed. I'm not saying it's needed right now, but at that time, it was definitely needed. Even him going on and beating Cody last year, I was a fan of, because I felt like Cody needed to earn a bit more to kind of get that. I love Cody. I've been a Cody fan for years. I've always believed in Cody. I always saw Cody as a top star I always knew Cody would be the top star that he is today. I've always known that. Even when he was with Legacy and becoming Stardust and all that, how they misused him, I always knew Cody's potential. So to see him get where he is, but I just felt that at that time, I don't think Cody deserved to win it then, but he definitely deserves to win it now. And I agreed with everything that Andy said. Cody has to win. I think, bring out Mama Rhodes, bring out his
Mama Rhodes.
Mama Rose, bring out his father-in-law, bring out Brandy, bring out Dustin.
Yeah.
They all need to show up tonight, and Cody needs to get the big one, because I think nothing lasts forever. I feel like I've been a wrestling fan all my life, and I've seen when they've go a bit too far with storylines, and it should have stopped at a certain point when it was really good to stop it at, and then it's kept going. Like NWO it's a great example. That should have stopped after Sting beat Hogan at Starrcade 97, and they kept going on, and it just got worse and worse. I feel like with Bloodline, you can really run out of creativity. You can really, really start getting complacent with that. And I think that right now, how they booked it's booked perfection. And he's absolutely right. It unlocks the roster. It gives a whole new leash of wrestlers to fight for that title. And of course, we're going to get to next year, which is 41, Rock and Reigns.
It's got to happen.
It has to happen.
It's got to happen.
And I think Andy's right. I think Rock is going to be the one that turns on Reigns. Rock will lead the Bloodline going forward. And then you get what they've always wanted. You get what they've always wanted, what WWE always wanted with Roman Reigns, a top babyface. They never had it before.
Wow, I've not seen it that way. I've been thinking Rock's going to turn back to babyface and Roman will stay heel.
No, Reigns was always the plan to be the number one babyface of the company.
Yeah.
It didn't work because how he was booked, and the fans rejected it. So they had to make him heel to make the people love him. Now you can bring him back as the number one guy that you've always wanted him to be.
All right, talking number one, guys. Looks like Acrylic is on the side of Cody Rhodes winning the title tonight. And also says, I see a Roman Reigns pop in Rob's background supporting the enemy.
Yeah, bro. Well, hang on, he's there.
That's true.
I've also got a Becky one. And I've got one Scott favourite one, which is Otis holding the money in the bank. So,
get over it.
Skillet, I want to quickly react to what you said. I love the idea, right?
Yeah.
However,
okay.
I don't know if you've got the chance to check out our predictions video or what we're kind of chatting about. Obviously, I know you've got your own content to do and stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, this was my thoughts.
Okay, let me hear this.
Okay, so half of my premonition has already come true, right? So we've already got Cody got pinned by The Rock for like last night, right?
Yep.
So that makes Roman a little jealous the fact that Rock got the pinfall. Now with Bloodline rules, my thoughts was it gets to a point where all this chaos happens. We get the run-ins and all this sort of stuff. Rock's still out there and he's can't basically, running the traffic saying this, do this, do this. And it gets to a point where the full attention is on The Rock and not Roman. Roman attacks The Rock out of jealousy and anger, saying this is my moment, not yours. In return, The Rock hits Roman. Crowd goes bananas. And then, as Scott rightly said, kind of the way we was planning it, it's a moment where Cody's down. Rock walks out like, screw you. Takes his title and leaves. And then Cody gets the pinfall, gets to the 2 or the 3. Roman kicks out. Obviously, it's not good enough. Then we get the clean finish right at the end with Cody doing the crossroads. And then Cody wins it. And then it kind of gets that moment of Rock versus Roman later on. Because I feel like you need to have a babyface heel. Yes, you need to have the heel. But just if Roman's going to go away, he needs to go away as the heel. And then even if they set something up before Rock fully turns back to babyface, he can have that thing with Cody. But I feel like this whole thing needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the jealousy route is a good prediction, because obviously you've had The Rock cutting all these promos on SmackDown and Reigns, putting his arm down and said, "I need you to acknowledge me," and you had a little sense of jealousy in the air, but they didn't really address it. So yes, that could really come full circle tonight. So yeah, that's a good shout. That is something that you could probably be right about that, to be honest, for sure.
I mean, there are a million different ways I can go, and a big kind of thing that I've been thinking is like, I've been really enjoying this heel version of The Rock. So do I really? I want the Mania moment where he the final boss. I want the Mania moment tonight, but like, is that too? Like, am I kind of shooting myself in the foot there because I could get even more out of it? But because we could get Cody win and Rock not turn and Rock turns eventually and stuff like that as well. Going to get to just a few more of these comments as well. They've been firing in, so apologies guys if we miss any of these or anything like that. Continuing with the kind of what do you call it? Dream matches. Andre was sending us earlier on. He's now going for The Rock versus Deontay Wilder, which I didn't see. He says, well, Tyson Fury had Braun Strowman in 2019. That is true, I guess. Miss Mabel, a little bit of fantasy booking here as well, says, Miss Mabel Bassett, what about this? Bullet Club reforms to fight off the Bloodline. Hey, look, fantasy booking, if we take a step back, if you tell me you got the Bullet Club, different. What version do you pick from the Bullet Club? But that could be a good program, but it just feels like the Bloodline's got kind of different things going on at the time. Kenneth Barrett Jr. says The Rock will turn on Roman Reigns and get revenge for that spear. That was also mentioned as well by, I believe, Acrylic Galaxy, referencing the spear as well. Roman speared The Rock last night. I see revenge coming as well. And says an eye for an eye, a spear for a spear. Nice. That's I like that. Could be a t-shirt, mate. I like what you're coming with there as well. But yeah, guys, keep the comments coming. Really appreciate it. This is all about getting us in a mood and getting yourselves in the mood for the big PLEs. And we do this again for every single one of the WWE PLEs. And of course, it's an easy job to have when you're doing it on WrestleMania, because come on, we're already hyped about WrestleMania, right? You don't have to do much more kind of persuading. But let's talk about hype. Oh, sorry, we've got a few comments about the Rock's trousers as well, the final bell bottoms as well.
But no, he should never wear them again. They were atrocious.
Miss Mabel Bassett says, just to former members that are currently in WWE, so the Good Brothers, AJ, Tama Tonga. You're saying currently with Tama Tonga? I know there's a lot of rumors flying around, and maybe Finn Balor as well. Let's go with that, Skillet. Let's hear your thoughts on potential surprises tonight. I know there's word going around today, but someone has told people they've signed, but nobody's really said who that is. I know Fightful we're going to do a story on this. I haven't managed to see what that is yet, but the names going around there are Tama Tonga and what's his name? Zilla Fatu. Now, so potentially them. There's also potential, for The Rock, for Stone Cold, and all these kind of things as well. Who do you think's most likely showing up tonight if we do get a surprise? Because I don't know if you saw it, but Rock said in his press conference last night that basically there will be a surprise. I
could see Tama Tonga, to be honest. I think he's been out of contract for a little while now, and there was rumblings that he's going to go to WWE. We saw his parents at the Hall of Fame. Haku is Haku Tama's dad?
I think he's basically next to uncle that brought him up, sort of thing. He's married to his aunt, and I think they adopted him.
Yeah, so I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's Tama. I also heard rumors, but I doubt they're coming. I think they're going to go AEW. But Motor City Machine Guns from TNA.
Yeah, I heard a bit of that the other day as well.
That would have been good,
that would have been amazing. That would be great. But I could see them going AEW. I don't think they'll be WWE bound. But it's interesting. I'm gonna go with Tama. The younger Fatu kid. I can't remember his name. He's probably, that's a possibility. But I think he'll probably still need a little bit more work before he gets into the
and the problem is, if something like that happens, it is because Roman's going to win. Like, you can't have him debut and he doesn't help the same way Solo did. It won't look good, will it?
I do think they need to do something with AJ. So it'd be great if Tama does come back and doesn't do anything with like Bloodline related stuff. He just goes straight into the original Bullet Club. Tama, Gallows and Anderson, Finn
kicking around as well. Yeah,
that'd be great. That'd be great. I would love to see
WWE have kind of butchered every opportunity they've had to use the Bullet Club storyline, to be fair. Absolutely. Every time it comes back up, I'm like, maybe this time. But it never really works out. Acrylic says that they've seen a picture of Stone Cold arriving at Mania. Where have you seen his picture, Acrylic? I'm guessing on social media or something like that. And even if that is the case, let's be honest, he probably would be at Mania, even if he's not appearing anyway. And it don't mean he's coming out in the main event. He could be just coming out on his quad bike to say hello to people. I don't know. What about you, Rob? Any kind of big surprises you're leaning towards?
I reckon we're going to get another member of the Bloodline appear. I feel like that'd be a good booking. However, at the same time, at what point? I think for me, my thing is, at what point do we have someone that's a surprise that's actually going to make a difference within the wrestling? Or at what point do we bring someone in and they go, oh, they're just joining another faction and they become another spare part? Because no disrespect, but JD McDonough hasn't really done much for Judgment Day. R-Truth done more for Judgment Day. So, like, do you know what I mean?
Like JD, man. I like JD. I like him.
JD's good. I mean, he's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
But when you're playing like the doofus in the background, like trying to keep things running, you know, I mean, is that what you want for JD McDonough? Like how good he is in his caliber?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like the same with Jimmy and Jay. Last night, it just felt like I was watching like a Mortal Kombat or a Tekken fight. It just everyone was just spamming two buttons, and then it ended.
Can I just quickly, sorry to cut you. That match was atrocious, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what was going on in that match. That was terrible.
As Rob said last night, the promo package was the best thing about it. And it
gave me goosebumps.
Just going to quickly get to a comment here. We've had our buddy Sam Smith join us in the comments as well. Of course, from the Give Me a Whole Year podcast, and WrestleSphere says, hi lads, sorry I couldn't join you. Enjoy night 2. Whole year indeed, mate. Thank you so much for at least hopping into the stream and supporting us as well. We really do appreciate you, and of course all the work they're doing over there on those channels as well. Critic Galaxy says, also a picture of Stone Cold quad bike being loaded. That's been done so many times. If that's going to happen, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's like what The Rock actually said last night. You know, you can come in for these one and done deals, but eventually, can we do a story? And you know, it's been great to see Rock kind of do that as well. Going to bring in now Michelle to the stream. How you doing, Michelle?
Hi everyone.
Hi,
Michelle. Are you all right? You looking forward to night 2?
Do you know what? I am. I've been listening along, and I did quite enjoy night 1 actually. So I think that there's a lot on the table tonight. I know it's outrageous. Yeah, I'm looking forward to night 2. When I first saw the split of the 2 cards, I thought night 1 looked a bit better on paper, but I think they've done some good work with the build, like you guys were saying earlier, to make it feel like a 2-night event rather than 2 standalone. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to stay awake.
What was it about night 1 that kind of, well, talking of staying away, we've got a comment here, Chris asking what time does it start in the UK? Yes, it is midnight once again, buddy, just like it was last night. I was struggling at the end as well. I'd had a long day, so I'm all tonight. Well, I was pumped last night for the show, but I think I'm actually more energetic physically tonight. So that's getting old for you and living in the UK. But also hopes that Cody finishes the story. What was it about night 1 that stood out to you then, Michelle? Because you know, our kind of general thoughts are that, you know, the Sami and you know, the ice was great, but maybe not the moment we all kind of it was presented as.
Yeah, I would agree, like that the comments around it probably should have been Gable. Sami's moment should have been a different moment and stuff. But I do like the fact that they were not afraid to make some big calls around some belts last night. You know, I was certainly shocked to see the Judgment Day lose both sets of titles. I know it was for the Undisputed, and we were going, oh, they're going to split the belts anyway and whatnot. But I did think they'd retain. And I think they've made some really big points around. There's a lot of storylines going into tonight and going into the following weeks or the new season as WrestleMania resets the year for us all, and where it's actually quite difficult to tell where it's going to go now with a lot of things. I found a lot of predictions really hard to make. And that for me, that was what was really good. I thought, I know it sounds a bit kind of aesthetic and surface level, but I thought it presented really well. I certainly didn't think the crowd came across as that quiet on TV, maybe because I was in a noisy living room and thought we were contributing to it. I don't know.
That was just you guys.
That was just us. So I did like it. I liked the variety of matches. I did think there were 1 or 2 that they didn't need, and I was disappointed with the length of a lot of the matches. I will say that to have a 12 men in a ladder match and it come in at under 20 minutes. Come on, do better. Utilize your talent a bit better. But I don't know. I think WWE, particularly with Triple H in charge, are now starting to really get to grips with it being a full 2-night event and making the build a lot better for it in that sense.
Yeah, that's been the interesting kind of thing to kind of step back and think about, really, whether or not, as we said earlier on, it's kind of just getting you ready for night 2, which is kind of a risky move in future if people start going on like, night 1's not really as important, you know. So but as I say, last year it felt like they were presented as equals, and ironically night 1 was actually
I thought night 1 was better last year as well. So
better, Skillet, going to throw it back round to you, mate. What are you most looking forward to? Let's say outside of the main event, because I think we're all looking forward to see what happens when that hand hits the mat. But what else are you looking forward to?
You're gonna have to remind me what match.
Let's go for the card. Let's go for the card.
Yeah,
so
yes, please.
Tonight
we've
got the world title with Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Of course, we touched on that a little bit already. We got AOP and Karrion Kross versus the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. We got the US title triple threat match. We've got the match that's been severely forgotten about by WWE, it seems, until recently. Bayley versus Io Sky. We've got AJ Styles versus LA Knight. And of course, we've already touched on it. So I'm going to exclude this as part of your options, Skillet. But beyond that, what do you think?
It's going to have to be the women's match. I think it's going to have to be Bayley versus Io. Funny enough, I actually think they're going to steal the show. Obviously, you've got Reigns versus Cody, which is going to be phenomenal. But the other matches, I'm not excited for the Street Profits versus the Last Testament. I'm not into that at all, if I'm honest. LA Knight and AJ build-up hasn't been great for me. I just I know they're fighting all over the place. They're fighting backstage. They're fighting in a bar. They're fighting at their mother's house. They're fighting everywhere. It's not really. No, it's not for me. And you mentioned another match. What was the other match that was you mentioned?
We did. Oh, the US title match.
Oh, you know what? Drew, the US title match. Yeah, Logan Paul probably will retain that. You know what? Drew Seth, I'm actually looking forward to as well. But I do feel Io and Bayley will actually they'll shut it down tonight. I think they're gonna steal the show. So yeah, that's the most match. That's the answer I'm giving.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you're right because they deserve. I mean, Bayley especially deserves.
Yeah,
we've talked about for years. One of the stars of the pandemic era. That was over. She didn't even have a spot on Mania. So to do something tonight would be fantastic. You touched on the LA Knight and AJ Styles build. I actually think the last few weeks have been pretty entertaining for a match that previously I wasn't looking forward to.
Right.
And I kind of still am the same because I still don't care who wins or like why they're having a match. I just think that some of the segments on their own have been entertaining. And like you say, kind of fighting all over the place. They did it at the press and we saw a lot of our friends from the wrestling media in the background of that. So that was quite fun to see friends knocking about in that clip as well. But the match itself doesn't matter. And I think ultimately it's because we all expected LA Knight to be in a different match and probably this one right here, the US title spot, maybe a one-on-one versus Logan Paul. Now, don't get me wrong, getting to see Randy Orton this late in his career and see him have fun is fantastic. Kevin Owens has been a star for the past few years as well, but it does feel like a misstep. So going to throw this one round to you, Michelle. What are your thoughts on the old LA Knight kind of AJ Styles feud and how that potentially takes away from LA Knight's progress?
Because he had so much momentum last year and we were all baying for WWE to pull the trigger on him, weren't we, and let him have a belt. And it feels like it's starting to fizzle out a bit. But let's be honest, he's really charismatic, and I really like LA Knight, but he's not the best wrestler. I think we've talked about that on previous pods, haven't we? You put him in the ring with someone as technical and as accomplished as AJ Styles, and you get the charisma of LA Knight and the really immense wrestling ability of AJ Styles. I think it has the potential to be a very, very good match if they do it right. And I think they probably do need to have LA Knight win it to keep this momentum going. Like you said, weird that he's not part of the US title picture, considering just before Christmas he was part of the main event Undisputed Championship picture. Yeah. Like what a quick fall from grace there. But I think I do get where they've carried the thread through from like costing each other different matches and so on. I just wish that there was something on the line other than it just being a reputational thing, because it feels like AJ Styles is a veteran and probably deserves another run with another belt before he goes. And he's recently alluded to the fact that he is starting to look at his retirement now. If LA Knight, again, he's in his 40s, not that means much in wrestling nowadays. Got Goldberg wrestling to 87 and whatnot.
The Rock did all right last night as well. He's not going to have an extremely long career, and they need to keep going momentum with him. So I wish there was some kind of title involved, but perhaps the winner of this almost earns the right to go on to face the winner of the US title match at Backlash or at SummerSlam or at Clash of the Castle or one of the 300 other PLEs that seem to be happening in the next 3 months across the globe. So I think it could be good if they do it in the right way. If they're going to give them like 10 minutes like they have to some of the matches over like yesterday, then maybe not. But yeah. All right, let's swing that back round to you, Skillet. You mentioned there as well, looking forward to Drew and Rollins. Do you think, I'm going to ask you this as I hop out and grab myself a drink, but do you think Drew, do you think basically Clash at Castle being in Glasgow has much bearing on what we're going to see tonight? And then after that, we'll switch back to Michelle.
It probably does, if I'm honest with you. You know, speaking as a fan, I would love, I don't really mind who. I think Rob was saying this earlier. I don't really mind who wins this match between the two because they're both phenomenal. Drew's doing his best work I've seen since forever. So I definitely would be happy if Drew wins, and obviously Clash of the Castle is around the corner, and he can just go and defend his title there. But I did say earlier, I do think Seth does need a WrestleMania win. I don't think his record at WrestleMania is great either. So, but yeah, I think Drew signing that contract, which he probably has, and we don't know if he has or not, but I think he probably has. He probably will go on and win and go ahead and defend it at Clash. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, me and Scott were in heavy debate about this. Once they announced it, that obviously they announced the Clash before we got to like WrestleMania Night 1, and I said, if we'd have made our predictions, would that have then changed your result on your prediction for the second night against Seth versus Drew? Because which way do you want to play it? Do you want to give Drew the moment that he, in my opinion, deserves in front of the fans? I mean, he didn't get it in the pandemic era, and he was one of the people that carried the whole company on his back, during that pandemic era, and props to him for that, along with Bayley and Sasha and Oscar and a couple of others, Lashley, Big E. They all stepped up like a lot for the pandemic era before we got like kind of fizzled out of it back to how it normally is, how he is now. So does Drew get that moment now as the heel at Mania against Seth, or do we have this moment where Drew wins it and gets cashed in on by Priest, annoyingly, but this is a pivot side, so then he gets that actual moment that he should have had at Mania originally in his hometown in Scotland?
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah,
how do you do it?
Yeah, that's a good that's a good these are possibilities we need to think about, man. I don't know how to call it. I have no idea where they're gonna go with this, man. It's interesting because also the reason why I'm also a bit conflicted about Drew winning it tonight is because of CM Punk. CM Punk is gonna be involved in this match somewhere. He's gonna be in commentary.
Do you think?
He's
on commentary, right?
He's on commentary, yeah.
Yeah, he's on commentary, yeah. So he probably he can swing a chair. He can hit Drew in the back, and I don't know. I don't know where they go. I don't know. I'm not sure.
See, I don't know. I'm in two minds. I think the idea of Punk being on commentary is kind of, it's there to play a part in something. But after how beat up Seth was last night in that match, he's going to look like slim pickings, and easy pickings for Drew. So what do you do? I mean, at this moment, if Seth comes out and it looks like he's absolutely fine, I think he becomes the Iron Man of WWE, because he just takes a beating and gets back up again the next day like nothing happened. So I don't know. It's hard to call. I feel like Triple H kind of booked us in this situation where, do you remember where you wasn't sure what had happened on NXT from the Wednesday through till when we get the Sand and Deliver on a Saturday? Like the way it was all built, and then if they was appearing on the next PLE for the Sunday, you're like, well, are they going to do this because they're injured, or how are they going to play it this way? Are they going to do that? And it feels like Triple H has kind of booked it that way with Seth for the last few months. So at some point his reign's got to end, but when?
Yeah, I think he's due a bit of time off, Seth, isn't he? He is.
Yeah,
I mean, he's earned it.
He has earned it. Do you know what? I think this is a good thing that we don't know which way it's going to go, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the CM Punk factor. I haven't even really thought about that much. It was only when I sat back down and put my earphones back in and realized what you guys were talking about. I was like, hold on a minute, he's on commentary, ain't he? So
you got
there's
CM
two huge storylines there. You got Drew, and also what should have been the match was him and Seth anyway. So
And again, like I know we touched upon it a little bit earlier, and you all know my thoughts on the Judgment Day and Priest. I think they're great. That's still an unknown factor. Is he going to pull the heist of the century on the man that has already pulled the heist of the century? You know, is he going to take away Drew's Mania moment?
Yeah. Well, obviously, it could be a thing where Drew dominates Seth throughout the whole match, working on his knees, just dominating, and then Seth finds a way to beat Drew, maybe a small package or whatever, finds a way. Drew gets angry, attacks Seth, beats him. Punk chases Drew out of the building, and that's when Damian cashes in. But that could be very predictable in its sense as well. And WWE looking like they don't want to do stuff that's predictable anymore, so that might not happen either. I don't know.
Do we even know where on the card the Seth Drew match is going to be?
I don't think at the moment anything's really been said. I know last night it did get announced ahead of time. I assume it's going to be the case here. If anyone in the comments does know, fill us in. I know Lucas didn't want to know it yesterday, but he's not here at the moment. He's joining us later on. I have just seen on Twitter, it's actually Jacob Fatu that they think is
right. Okay, then that's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Didn't he no-show a GCW show or something the other day?
Right.
That's
a possibility.
I can have a look for you. Give me a second.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's out. He's phenomenal. So that'll be a great coup. So yeah, but
it leans into that whole kind of overbooking. Again, that's not a bad thing. Sometimes, you know, like I was a big fan, not so much of who won in Sting versus Triple H. I was a big fan of the DXNWA nonsense that happened with it, even though it made no sense historically for the NWO to help Sting. But
yeah,
that kind of thing is fun. And I do think we can get something fun with all the ghosts of the Bloodline's past coming back to haunt them tonight. But then if you've got this situation in the Drew Seth match, and then you've also got possibly Damian Priest and CM Punk to kind of contend with that's a lot of potential overbooking moments as well.
Remember, when they had Drew temporarily aligned with the Judgment Day around Survivor Series, they were already teasing some tension between Drew and Priest quite early days. And they're two big guys with they both move really well for big guys, but two quite different wrestling styles. And that potentially sets up a feud there. There's so many ways it could go tonight.
That's a good shout, by the way. That's an amazing shout, actually. I didn't even think of that. That's actually a really good shout.
Yeah, so yeah, we don't know. Maybe Seth does retain for a little while. Maybe Drew gets it. It's tough, isn't it? Because like when they've tried to turn Seth heel before, it's not always worked. Drew, like we've already said, is doing some of his best heel work we've seen in ages. The danger with having Priest cash in is, do you accidentally turn Drew back face, or you're going to have a heel versus heel feud, which is much harder to sell to a crowd.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is what me and Scott were discussing. Even if you get heel versus heel, if the next pay-per-view, obviously we've got Backlash, and then what? It would be Clash.
Isn't there a Saudi one at the end of May?
I think I saw that yesterday. That there's
a Saudi one.
I only saw one person post about it. That King and Queen of the Ring is coming back.
Yeah, they're bringing.
It's on my birthday actually, but yeah.
But even with that, you could have heel Priest versus heel Drew McIntyre, and it might stink the entire place out. Which, fine, heel versus heel. But the minute you take that match and you put it in Scotland, you haven't got a heel Drew McIntyre anymore.
You got exactly.
That's how you get past it. So do you hold off, let the match happen, and if it happen, but pull the trigger on Drew having that moment at Scotland? I feel like there's a reason. If they've done it in Scotland, I feel like there's a reason. Like Drew's he's been in this picture for a while. It's a happy coincidence or a happy accident that Punk got injured, Drew steps up yet again. Like, you got to pay him his dues for what he's done. I mean, as Andy was saying, this is probably his best work that we've seen in probably years. I mean, if you go back to when he went back to is it ICW after he got released, and he had like that little run, and that was great. Then he kind of went to NXT to TNA, which was we'll get past, and then back into NXT, and then back to where he is now. But he's had such an up and down career, and now this is probably his best work. And sometimes it takes something to happen. I think if anything, he needs to win that title in front of his fans in Scotland. I think it's only right, and I reckon he's signed with that being on the cards of, look, we'll give you a new contract, and we're going to give you, because of what you've done this, and your payment is winning the title. but it's going to be in your
in
home.
front of your home crowd. Yeah, especially because they didn't do it at last year's Clash for him.
I know, which was such. It felt like, and then this is why the Cody thing hurt so much last year, because it was like, okay, if it weren't Drew and it weren't Sami and it weren't Cody, then what the hell are we doing? Obviously, it might look like it's Cody again, but yeah, I remember coming out of Clash, and I still got loads of footage I haven't used from that weekend, by the way, which was such a fun time.
Did just you muttering to yourself?
Yeah, no, it wasn't actually. It was me and people like Skillet. I put the camera in their faces and I said, "Look, it's not Drew. Who is it?" And we got some interesting answers then, but I've never released that footage, so I'm gonna wait and see who does it, and then I'm gonna put that footage up and say, "This is what we thought when we came out of Clash of the
I don't believe you.
So keep your eyes posted and peeled on this page for that as well. Daniel Wiley's in the house. Thank you for coming up, mate. You joined us yesterday, and of course, has been a long time viewer of the channel. Really appreciate you coming back, buddy. And the Nightcrawler says, I hope that's not the actual Nightcrawler out there. It says, I prayed for this and it happened, referring to Drew McIntyre's incredible promos he's been doing lately. Roman needs to beat the Hogan record. Now, the records have been a big part of why we feel like maybe it's been extended for certain, records to be broken. The Hogan one would be insane to try and push because it's a different era. And like this time last year, I was angry when Cody didn't win. This time this year, I don't want to say #cancel WWE Network again, but I won't be happy. But
so you're the one that started that, is it?
No, it won't be, I swear.
Look, before I'll let you guys kind of weigh on it, but this is my thoughts, and I think I'm a big Scott. You'll know this. Ever since we've had this moment where Roman has had he's hit a milestone, I'm like, you need to pull the trigger on either him dropping the title on the day of that milestone, or it's a specific reason, or there's a specific number. Now, everyone keeps going on about this Hogan thing. I'm one of them, and everyone's like, yeah, but he's only going to be number 2. But I'm like, you've got Hogan, and then I think you've got Backlund 4 days later, and then you've got Bruno Sammartino. We are never going to get anyone to surpass the Bruno Sammartino number. I get it. However, if Roman, let's say Roman wins tonight and he does continue it and he keeps this title, and let's say he surpasses Hogan and he surpasses Backlund, for us, this is that Bruno Sammartino moment. Like, we are never going to get another long reign like this, I don't think, in our lifetime. Look how long it took them to do it the first time. I mean, you had someone like Brock Lesnar, you've had Triple H in the Attitude Era.
Even Punk's reign when he was over a year as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's been so many times that they could literally do this, and not once have they done it. And they're now doing it with Roman. And so I feel like it's bittersweet because I'm a big Cody fan. And I'm like, Cody could finish the story tonight, and that would be great. But at the same time, imagine on the day that Roman surpasses Hogan and Backlund, and then Cody's like, this is not your time anymore. Now I'm taking it. I think that to me, it's even a bigger thing because he finishes 2 stories. One that Roman's the longest. He ends that. The crowd pops for that big. And then the other thing, Cody gets the title.
I think on paper, that's easy to go, oh yeah, but it's about now. And that's why last year felt wrong, because it was like, now Cody is on fire now, and the bloodline is starting to wave.
That's
now.
The only downside.
This last year, if we're honest, guys, this last year the bloodline has not been anything like the year before. The year before was unbelievable. There was still some issues the year before as well. Jimmy turning and Jay turning and Jimmy turning and Jay turning, and that's why the Jimmy and Jay match
had more turns than Big Show
suffered. They did, but I mean, they would lose a lot of faith in wrestling fans. They'd lose a lot of patience. As much as we're all saying this new era, it's so cool, it's so fun, it can change so quickly. So yeah, it'd be mad.
How much longer is there for Roman to go before he hits?
I think it's September.
Which again, just like last year with 1,000 days, we're like, oh, it's not that far, maybe. But how long are we going to carry on doing?
How many more times can Cody not finish the story before people just go, oh, whatever?
It'll be.
I think we had that. Go on, Skillet.
No, it will be the end of Cody. They can't do that. Cody,
that's.
He's the guy right now, and
even I like Cody now, and I couldn't stand the guy last year and a half. Even I'm like, please, Cody, finish the story.
Yeah, no,
just do it, for crying out loud. Just do something.
Not all records are made to be broken. They need to this, and look at the names. Like Reigns, to be the fact that Reigns is in the conversation with Hogan's and the Backlunds and the San Martinos is amazing achievement as it is. And I feel like to have those names still be at the top of the list of the longest reigns is great for history. It's great for wrestling history. I don't think they need to surpass that. So let's just give it to Cody. I'm sick of this now. I
said if they were going to ever do it and pull the trigger on ruining a milestone, Scott, was it the Saudi show when that was officially 1,000 days and they had like the Roman celebration?
It was, yeah.
And I was like, how good would it have been?
It was around
if it was on the day that he hit the 1,000, and I was like, do it now, do it on the 1,000, ruin the celebration, and make him lose it then. But if it's going to take to a WrestleMania, that this year's WrestleMania, and we'll have a couple of 100 days, fine. But I'm like with you guys, I wouldn't mind seeing the reign get there, but Roman's already in that conversation. Skillet just said with
the
likes.
It's a what do you call it? Like it's something for the record books at the detriment of what's actually important, which is here and now and business at the moment.
Exactly. That's right, Scott.
Yeah,
that's the big kind of problem for me. And again, that is why I was concerned last year, and I can only give them benefit of the doubt so much when it comes to this. Talking celebrations, though, Critic says prediction: Cody wins and Stone Cold brings out the beers. Well, I'm doing the same, guys. Look at it. It is back. Look, these build-up streams are the casual ones. We sit back, we have some drinks, we talk theories, and we go wild. There are rumors flying around the place. We're checking social media. These are the fun streams. So allow me this, all right?
I will say though,
I just want to see how big it is in comparison to your. Wow.
Wow.
That's
that's
a beer.
So I don't know if you guys see it. I can't remember what page it was. I was either on a Facebook page or I see it on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But there was this thing about Roman, and I think it really does show what a star he's really become. Because Jimmy Fallon was like, "Oh, we want one of your top." I don't know if you see it. So it was a couple of years ago. It's like, we want one of your top guys, and they wanted like a Rock or an Austin or a Cena or something like that. And it was like, have Roman. And they was like, no, we don't want Roman. And it was an adamant of, we don't want Roman. And then all of a sudden, he's now become this huge megastar. And in the last 3 years, he's gone on Jimmy Fallon with 3 different versions of the title that he's currently got. So it really shows that he is a megastar in his own right. And we may never get the Hogan.
We got to remember, this is the guy that none of us wanted to be in this position. We all saw potential in him, but it was shoved down our throats. And like I think a few months into his heel reign, we were like, you know what, this is what we always wanted, and it's been great. Yeah. And as Skillet said earlier on, that twist back to a face turn, like that has major potential as well.
Yeah, I think that is the long-term goal. I generally do feel
I can see that
they've always wanted him to be the top baby face. It didn't work out that way, and he will become top babyface again. That's definitely
it's crazy how if you're not going to be the top baby, this is how I think how most wrestlers look at it. If you're not going to be the top babyface, be the top heel.
Yeah,
Roman has now been the top heel for way over nearly 4 years.
Interestingly though, like when Cody was in AEW, and I didn't really watch much of it, but like my understanding is a lot of the fans kind of turned on him because they wanted him to be like Homelander and were expecting a heel turn that never happened. Are WWE going to do the same thing with Cody, or do you think we do eventually see? Because actually, I don't know if there's a way to have Roman turn face and Cody turn heel and tie it together. It would be very, very complex, and they'd have to.
It's happened before, but there is a chance that again, if Cody don't do it, that even I'm going to go, oh, I'm sick of this Cody thing, and fans will turn on Cody. Like, that's 100%. He'll seem like a chump.
So, did you know, Michelle, that the way that Cody wanted to become a heel in AEW was to not turn heel and be the biggest babyface. Yeah, so the fans didn't like him, but he looked at himself as the biggest babyface in the company, and by him doing that, he became a heel in his own right without having to be the heel.
Yeah,
and I get the idea, and I feel like the AEW fans at that point just didn't want it. They wanted heel Cody.
Yeah,
but now I think Cody is in. And I said this to Scott. Over the last few years, the We Want Cody and everything, this entire build is probably, we're about to see one of the biggest moments in WrestleMania. If Cody wins tonight, the biggest moment in WrestleMania history. And I think it will be bigger than the YesWrestleMania and Kofi Mania. And because it's been 2 years in the running, Fans have been so irritated. Now they're at a point where some people, as you said, you weren't a fan of Cody, and now you're like, just finish the story. You need to see it happen. It's like a supply and demand that they've been dangling over us for 2 years, and now it's like, right, now we're going to do it. So I'm hoping it happens, just so it's like a sigh of relief. We get them over. Right.
Yeah.
Now we're
all is right with the world, sort of thing. You know, like,
and I feel like Gunther's the next person for Cody. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's a great feud as well.
And I wouldn't be surprised if potentially if Roman's taking a little bit of time off after this, which he might be. Maybe this is where SummerSlam's going, because people have been calling for Gunther to enter the main event picture.
And also, as you know, we keep mentioning it, he's not German, but of course there are links to Germany with the way he kind of, way he kind of trained and stuff like that, and where he, of course, cut his teeth in the wrestling industry. But yeah, Bash in Berlin as well. So going to get to a few of these comments here as well. As I say, Nightcrawler saying Roman does need to beat the record. Is there any chance to break it? I get what you're saying there. It is tempting when you're that close, as we've been touching on. A very specific prediction from Andre here. Seth Rollins wins in 11 minutes. And I really hope you're right with that one, Andre.
I've had enough 11-minute matches from night one, man.
Let's put some money on that. Critic says it needs to liven up. Triple H's new era starting now. Hype. You are as hyped as Mojo Rawley, it would seem. We got our friends from Give Me a Hole, in the chat as well, with a big old yo. Hopefully going to get one of the members of that fantastic crew joining us on the stream in just a while as well, and sending us much love, and we send it straight back to you boys. Fantastic podcast over there. Speaking of which, we've got a great special guest with us at this very moment in time in Skillet. So just want to give you the opportunity, mate, to kind of spread your own kind of information and let people know where they can find you. Of course, I'm sure people are enjoying what you've been saying tonight, and if they want to see more of that, where can they go?
Thank you very much. Yes, you can follow me on all social media platforms under the at Skillet World, SKILLIT World, and you can find me on Gorilla Position podcast, and the Kick Out podcast. Quite a few podcasts I'm involved in, but
yeah, man. Of course, a little while ago now, you guys made the announcement that a Gorilla Position is back. I know the other boys are over there, kind of doing their thing.
Mex and James is out there. I was invited to go as well, but I couldn't make it. Unfortunately, I've got some house saving to do. I'm trying to save up for a house. So,
all right, mate. I know what you mean. But hey, I don't want to sound kind of cruel and selfish, but I'm glad you didn't go, because now you joined us,
Yeah, 100%. And after night one last night, I was a bit like, I'm a bit relieved. But we'll see how night two plays out. Hopefully it's phenomenal tonight.
Hopefully so. Like you say, check him out on those podcasts, the Kick Out, Gorilla Position, and of course,
thank you. I'm gonna have to love and leave you guys. Thank you for having me, by the way.
No worries, man. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Always a pleasure to
lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
I love you to meet you. And listen, I'm going to follow you all, and let's all catch up again about after WrestleMania. Let's have a little chin wag. Scott, put us all in the WhatsApp.
We should do something like that. A big mega group or something, shouldn't we? Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, and then all the best quotes we'll put on the stream, but the naughty ones we'll keep behind the scenes. Right. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Got his handles down there. Go and check him out, man. And once again, thank you for joining us, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, man.
All right. Yeah. Once again, great to see Skillet back in action on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel tonight. Doing some fantastic work over there. Go and check him out. What was that, mate?
I said I got a good thought for you. It's a bit nerdy. There's probably nothing in it, but I thought it's quite a wild theory. Because it's to build up, why not? So I don't know if you're aware, but Cody's saying that this is the Renaissance era, right?
Okay.
And the official word
painting.
Well, the word Renaissance, rebirth, right? So there's a rebirth era. Now, if you have a rebirth of something, you need to have a death of something else first, right? Arguably correct.
Yeah.
So
what's dying in the bloodline?
Hang on.
All right.
Gunther, his title reign ended on the number 666.
I know, spooky.
And we're talking about being in a Renaissance era and a rebirth. So what if it was intentional that it ends on that day, knowing that, okay, we're going to do this, and they've been kind of planning it. So it's the death of this, and it's a resurrection of like a whole new era, like going forward. I feel like it makes sense.
So related to Gunther and Cody as well, you mean?
Possibly.
I mean, that is a feud that I do want to see. As Michelle said, it feels SummerSlam kind of written all over it. But at the same time, we do have Bash in Berlin. But Yeah, I think the whole, as you said last night, Rob, when we were a bit down about the whole kind of scenario with the IC title changing hands in a way that I guess none of us really expected or really wanted, as harsh as that sounds to an incredible performer like Sami Zayn. But like the positive that you were saying last night is, look, Gunther's now free to move into that kind of next position on the card. And that's what we were all kind of expecting to be the case when he finally loses it anyway. But again, I don't want to get caught up in a whole Sami Zayn situation anyway. No, actually, let's do that. Where do you see, let's turn this back to Michelle. Where do you see the IC title going now? Do we get this Gable scenario with Sami?
I think so. Like he said, didn't he, just before in the video vignette before Sami went to the ring, is "You owe me one."
Yeah.
I think it's pretty common. I think we're probably all in agreement that when there's been a long title reign, there's then going to be a series of quite quick title changes.
Yeah. Not
always, but a lot. I think you've also got a lot of really talented wrestlers that can hold a mid-card belt now. They brought the gravitas and the accolade back to it by giving Gunther a long reign, giving it to someone as accomplished and as deserving as Sami. While we've agreed it's probably not his moment, but he does deserve it.
But he is a star.
He's a star.
So, yeah,
I think that Bloodline storyline might have died a death a lot earlier without Sami's involvement last year. You got people like Kevin Owens and Randy Orton knocking around. You got Priest. You got Dominic Mysterio. I think they might be sticking a mid-card belt on him soon. Finn Balor, who's still always in with a shout. I mean, I'm just looking at the Raw roster now. LA Knight, AJ Styles. I think for the IC title, we've got that. We've also got the chit chat around Rhea potentially going for one of the men's belts in the way that China did. That there's a lot of scope there, I think, and WWE can get it. It's one of those things. If they do it right, it could be really easy, but it could also be really easy to get it wrong. Like for example, we all love R-Truth. We do. I know loads of us were delighted that the Awesome Truth got the belts last night, but the reality of it is, by putting a comedy character on the belt for a long time, like R-Truth, for example, does it then start to devalue it? I think there needs to be a lot of merit in having your Chad Gables, maybe your Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, like let the belt go through a few really strong established wrestlers, then maybe put it on one of the younger guys. I can't pull a name out of the air right now, but like almost like a male Tiffany Stratton. Have a bit of gravitas built around it, then put it on one of the younger guys.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Like you say, it's all about kind of continuing that legacy of what Gunther has built with the IC title in the first place. So,
what about Ludwig Kaiser? People are talking about him. Like, do we see the end of Imperium? Do we see Ludwig go for that belt? Because he's really put a great showing in the last few months with some of his matches.
Yeah, great.
Ludwig looks fantastic,
and he should have a good role in Berlin as well. I mean, being that
he's going to be. Didn't they go there recently and he was just like overwhelmed?
Well, he's the son of a German legend as well, German wrestling legend. So, it'd be mad not to utilize him on that show.
Yeah. So I would say that if you've got the next people in line, obviously we've got the Chad Gable thing. If you're kind of watching what's been going on and you're kind of like Raw, for example, specifically with Bronson Reed, who's beat Sami Zayn twice. So
did he win the Battle Royal on them?
Yeah,
on Friday night as well. Yeah.
So obviously he won that. So maybe I'm not that he's going to cash in something, but he's like, I won this. I want to go against Sami. I beat you twice. That's an easy feud for them to do.
Yeah.
I think though the way they're going to kind of book Sami for a while is making the NXT underdog. So no matter who he goes against, he's going in basically like, can he beat him? Because that's kind of the road they've gone down. And I think if we get a nice showing of that, and then we get a moment with him and Gable, you could probably do a face-first-face moment, and maybe get away with it. Kind of, do you remember how we had like British Bulldog winning? For that, you could probably maybe get away with something like that, because I mean that wasn't like a heel first face thing. SummerSlam. So
yeah, it was
maybe so maybe we can get a moment like that, and that's a good way to transition it over to Gable, because essentially it's weird. That's what we wanted. We didn't get that, and it kind of feels like a bittersweet. But if we're going to need anyone to kind of take that title off and carry it for a while, you want someone that's kind of seasoned in carrying a title. So do you give it to Gable and then he fumbles it, or do you give it to Sami allow Sami to kind of fumble it enough to give it to Gable, which is what you want. Like
it's almost like a step into Gable. Yeah,
it's a step back to step forward, you know. Yeah. So how do you do it?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where they go with it. Of course, well, most of this stuff is related to night one. So let's swing back around on some of the night two predictions as well. I know Michelle's going to be heading off in just a moment as well. So first of all, thanks for joining us, Michelle. But let's kind of quick fire go through your thoughts on some of the matches and who you think ultimately is going to win these. And of course, spend as little or as much as you like elaborating on them. But
all right, yeah. So we got Philadelphia Street Fight, haven't we?
Let's start with that one. Yeah. So
absolutely feels like a card filler and feels a completely unnecessary addition to the card. If I'm being honest,
Street Fight would be cool though. I do, it could be
yeah, but we're getting a Bloodline rules match, which is essentially the same thing.
I'm just not interested in this version of the Street Profits with Bobby Lashley. It just feels really forced. So, I feel like they've really dropped the ball with carrying Cross as well.
Oh, don't get me started.
They need to make it work, which is why I think potentially that there's a pain and Cross win tonight. They've got to make it work now.
I feel I was saying this to Scott. I think it was either on the build up yesterday or when we were doing our predictions. Making a decision about who you want is Lashley and the Street Profits to win or the New Testament to win. Regardless of what happens, neither side wins because one team gets booked a little bit stronger for what comes next. And then the other team gets pushed further down the card when they're trying to make them look stronger. It's arguably one of the most stupidest feuds that I think they've done. They should have had the New Testament come out and go against someone that was on their own and basically batter them to a pulp and then let them get that win over Cross, or not.
I think the only ones that could slightly benefit from it or need it more, as we said in our predictions the other day, is the team of AOP and Cross, because as much as as Michelle said, this version of Street Profits with Lashley isn't really hitting as we would maybe hope. They've at least had good runs in the past, whereas these other guys have not. So there is that.
Yeah, this whole Cross on the main roster thing, it didn't work.
Have you seen the theory about carrying Cross?
About how the time is up thing, and then they all get.
Yeah, so anyone that's ever faced him, after they've faced him, they've either lost something like dignity, pride, patience.
Okay, right.
Honestly,
yeah,
it's really weird how they've done it, and they kind of leaned into it. I think it was a fan theory,
but they've kind of picked up on it.
It's that because it does make sense. So, what do you do with this? The pride, obviously, is what they're going by because they were already heel. Then you turn them back to face because they didn't want to. The fans were like, "We don't want you heel."
Yeah,
And so now what do you do? So if they lose, they've got to go heel again. So essentially, because of that, and the way they've done this,
split them up and call it quits and realize it was a bad experiment. I mean, we could be saying this in a year's time. Go, man, what a stable! But at the moment, it
feels like Hurt Business 2.0 without the suits. That's literally what they.
And everybody knows the Hurt Business was fumbled as well.
One of the best things to come out of the pandemic era. They fumbled it.
Yeah. I just have zero interest in this match.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really sad because like a year or two ago, I was looking at the Street Profits.
Yeah, and they were looking
kind of saying, I think they're a great tag team. Like they could be the ones that surpass the Usos, and look at them now,
Yeah.
So that made me.
I think their decline was quickly summed up with, I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, or PLE it was, when they were thrown in a dumpster or something against the Viking Raiders, and they had that lobster
in 2020. No, but they did good since that. They were good since that. They were good outside the pandemic era as well.
Yeah, but compare that to their NXT run. Come on now.
Yeah.
But
I thought they had some really good stuff on the main roster as well. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Go on.
I'm just not excited about that one.
Oh, okay, yeah, no worries. Let's move on to the women's title match then. Again, we'll quick fire through some thoughts here from Michelle, because again, I know she's got to leave in just a moment. So go on, Michelle.
I'm genuinely really quite upset for Bayley in the sense that she earned a main event spot at WrestleMania and she's not getting it because of all of this bloodline crap. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very invested in the bloodline crap. But I feel like she's been screwed out of the main event of WrestleMania that she really deserves. I think I think Io Sky, she's really talented, but I think her reign hasn't been brilliant. I feel like the damage control stuff has overshadowed her reign as champ. I think Bayley wins tonight. I think Bayley deserves to win tonight. I think, like we were saying earlier, it could potentially be the match of the night because you've got two very talented wrestlers with two very different styles. Very, very different styles. And the fact that Bayley's almost been a bit ignored in the build-up and she's done so much to elevate the women's division and put some of the girls over. I think she really deserves the win. Does she need it? Probably not, but I think we're all in agreement she deserves a belt. Does she go full hugger again after this? Do we get?
Rob thinks it will be tonight, and I hope he's right.
I think it's tonight. I mean, let's say, for example, she gets the win. Now we always get the great moment of the confetti comes down, and if it's Japan, they have the streamers or something like that. But what if she gets the win? And then people go into the ring with her. I don't know who, obviously, because she needs to build a lot of bridges after being heel. But let's say we get Jade and Naomi and all that come through because they were facing damage control as well. And then they kind of just look to the end of the stage, and then the Bayley buddies are just up there. And I think we just need that moment. I mean, she doesn't have to be
as a celebration. I do think that's a good point.
It sounds a bit weird, but she's done something different with her hair because there was a little clip on the WWE Instagram earlier where she was talking about, I'm feeling quite calm going into this WrestleMania. Normally I'm crying at this point. And she had a hat covering her hair, and I swear she's had some extensions put in maybe, and it looked a different color. So maybe they are looking at a big gimmick change tonight, or maybe she just dyed her hair. You never know, do you?
So, I mean, do you think as well, the biggest Bayley fan, I guess, in the wrestling world, Izzy, do you think she'll be in attendance? And if so,
no, I'll say she's not. She's she might be in the crowd, but she's only had
do you think she'll
15 matches? No, not Sasha Banks. No, Izzy. So the girl.
Izzy, right.
In the crowd
NXT
at NXT.
Do you think,
but like, I know she's trying to be a wrestler, but she'll be there. But
I was like, there's no way Khan's going to let her be there. Like, come on, mate. Maybe she's planted there in the hugger stuff, and
that would be cool. That's not a bad idea. I mean, before we were talking about her coming out and then just doing the entrance as the babyface, which I think would be great as well. But the possible, celebration is a good way as well.
I just wanted to go back out like the female macho with the coat and
man. But you got to remember when she turned heel, she came out with all the Bayley hugger stuff, and then she beat her and she just changed. She could do the she did. She could do the reverse of that, basically.
How do you unbeat up the wiggly things?
When they go back up, they've got to have tape on them. A tape that says like, I'm sorry.
Hug life.
Hug life indeed. All right. Well, I think we've covered pretty much all the matches for Michelle's time on the show. We're gonna continue right up until the show ends. We've got more special guests show starts, I should say, for WrestleMania. We've got more special guests to come. But I want to say thank you very much to you, Michelle, for joining us tonight. Really enjoyed having your input here as well. Is there anything else you do want to say before you hop out of the stream?
I feel like the Judgment Day were done the dirty last night. I was very upset by it all. There we go. That's all I want to say.
All right, on that, let me quickly get your opinion. Let me quickly get your opinion. Are we leading towards the end of the Judgment Day? Is it looking like Rhea's going to have the title because she's the only one with a belt to kind of take charge and say you're all crap?
I don't know if we see the end of it, because actually the only other faction that have really been going longer than them at the moment on the main roster are the Bloodline, and we're pretty much agreed that's coming to an end. Okay,
to end the both of
a strong, long-running heel faction to keep going. We know Triple H is a big fan of that. A lot of people have kind of talked about Rhea's reign not being great because she's been preoccupied with Judgment Day business. Do they pull her out? There's been rumors about Priest being pulled out to go face and go main event.
Maybe it doesn't end. I
don't think it ends yet. I think they maybe add to their numbers and they evolve a little bit and whatnot. But I don't think it ends yet.
It's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout. But right, once again, Michelle, thank you for joining us. Have a great night too. And,
I hope you enjoy night 2 more than night 1, guys.
I hope so as well. And we'll have you back on the channel very soon, I'm sure.
Right. See you soon, guys.
See you later. All right. Once again, thank you to Michelle for joining us as well on tonight's stream. And to everyone else that's been with us live, dropping their comments throughout the stream as well. Let us know what you think is going to happen tonight, and what did you think of night one as well? We've still got a bit of room for night one talk here on the stream, because we're going to try our best to mainly steer it towards night two conversations, because that's what this is all about, getting ourselves and yourselves hyped up for the big PLE as well. And of course, we've got a big night expected just around the corner, about an hour and 5 minutes away from the start time. We mentioned just then quite a bit of chit chat about the Bloodline. About the Judgment Day, and I had a chance to chat to Damian Priest about what he thinks, is required to be a member of the Judgment Day, and what kind of person would fit the Judgment Day. We've also had conversations with fellow Judgment Day members such as Finn Balor and also Rhea Ripley, as we just mentioned, has just retained the Women's World Title and has been champion for just over a year now as well. So if you haven't already, go check those interviews out on this channel. Of course, we are the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We are here to give you build-up shows on the night of PLEs to get yourself and ourselves hyped up for the event. But also we have podcasts beyond that, such as recaps, reviews, instant reactions, which we'll do after tonight's stream, after tonight's show as well. And again, we have the opportunity, thankfully, to interview some great superstars over the years as well. So if you haven't already, press that big old red subscribe button and ring-a-ding-ding that bell. Rob.
Hello.
How you feeling, mate? An hour and 5 minutes out.
Do you know, talking about it, I'm getting more excited. I feel like I'm unsure. Like, I'll be honest. I think with the way they left last night I don't know. Something's got to happen, no?
Are we almost putting too much pressure on them tonight? Because I feel like, weirdly enough, there are so many possible things. Like, again, you don't want all this surprises at once, and you don't want everything to happen, predictably. But because not really much happened last night, it kind of feels like now we have the problem of, there's kind of too much that could happen tonight. So surely half of these things aren't going to happen anyway. Let's just run for the card. Let me say a random surprise for each one of these things, right? Let's see. Right. So here you potentially got a cash in and you potentially got a new champion. Now, if none of those things happen, then fair enough. But then if you add it to this and it's not a match that really excites people because nobody's really invested in the story or anything like that, and they don't have a crazy hardcore spot to kind of be memorable, that's a risk as well. If you go into this one here, I don't even think there needs to be a title change, but it needs to be an incredible match. We talked at length, actually, how Royal Rumble's match between Kevin Owens and Logan Paul was actually a bit of a letdown. We were expecting it to be match of the night, and it wasn't. So there's a lot they could do, and I still have faith in those guys, and Randy added to the mix, that could be an incredible match as well. But let's say it's not, right? Let's also say that Bayley doesn't win, or Bayley doesn't get the Bayley buddies back out. She doesn't go full babyface, and it just feels a bit lackluster. It's a 4, 5, 6, 7 minute match that doesn't really mean anything. Then that could be a problem. Let's talk about this match here as well. We've got opportunity here for LA Knight and AJ Styles to kind of at least just have match of the night type kind of vibes or something like that, because beyond that there's nothing else. I do not care who wins, other than the fact that LA Knight probably needs it a bit more for his character to grow. So let's say AJ Styles wins and it's a bit of a nothing match. That's a risk as well. And then you've got Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and of course the big thing here is the changing of the title, or potentially the changing of the guard. Now if Cody Rhodes doesn't win it, people are going to be angry coming out of that, I'm pretty sure. And if he does win it, it needs to be done, I guess, the right way as well. So there are so many things within this card tonight where there are opportunities to kind of hit a home run or completely stumble. And again, not all of those, this turn and this win and this extreme moment, not all those things are going to happen. It's understandable. And they kind of can't happen now because it'd be kind of too much in one night compared to what we had yesterday. But for you, Rob, what are the main things that do need to happen? Let's say we've got a card there and we're going to get 2 or 3 of these exciting things I've just mentioned there. What are the ones that kind of realistically you would settle for? Because I don't think you can get a cash in and Cody win and match of the year contendership from the US title. You know what I mean? We can't have all those things. So let's try and tier it in some ways. What would you be content with?
Be realistic. Oh man, see, this is the thing. We had the moment again last night with Gunther losing. So I feel because Gunther's lost, it's going to be proper strange for a WrestleMania moment, just WrestleMania. Over the case of it, we lose the 2 different tag team champions. The women's doesn't change. The hand title didn't change hands like the Rhea's one.
Yeah.
But the 2 tag titles have changed hands. Gunther lost. And then let's say, so that's 2 of last night. And let's say tonight, Seth loses. Logan loses. And then Roman loses. Are we really going to have 6 title changes?
That's it. It's not going to be that many, is it?
No.
You know what I would be okay with, right? As much
Go on.
I do want Drew to beat Seth, right? But let's say a scenario where you can only get a certain amount of him because it's kind of, it makes sense. Yeah. Let's say Cody winning, Bayley winning, and Seth winning. I wouldn't be as annoyed about Seth winning because I've got the Bayley situation, and the biggest one I think we need, of course, is Cody Rhodes. And like, you know, there are a few cool hardcore spots, and Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens is at least, and Randy is at least better than the one-on-one match. I think that's the kind of, I guess, bare minimum I'm going for here as well. Andre, as ever, is booking these fantasy matches. John Cena versus CM Punk 3. Hey, could we see Cena show up? I know that's a big part of the chatter around Bloodline.
All right,
all these kind of
let's quickly
things
jump
in the
into
past.
something then.
Go on.
Obviously, I feel the Bloodline thing. I think let's culminate like the finish of how we think it's going to be.
We're going to fantasy book the finish of the Bloodline match, yeah?
Or like, I guess so.
Or realistically book, like what would be good?
Yeah, how we feel like
it doesn't have to be crazy.
It doesn't have to be wild.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone coming out and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
you know, doing a conga line. But there's got to be something, right? So I think this is what I want to see as well. I want to see, firstly, controversially, I want Seth and Drew either to come out first and have their match, or it's the second to last.
that's too close for me. Second to last. They need to spread them a bit.
The reason being, I feel by doing it second, maybe even third to last, and I would put actually, let's put Bayley's match, Bayley and EO, second to last. I feel like they're at least worthy of having that moment. And then before their match, we get Drew and Seth.
I wouldn't be surprised if second to last was the street fight, actually. Because it'll dip, but people will be... Because you don't want... I think Bayley would get lost in the shuffle second to last. And I think the other guys, as much as we're saying they've kind of not done much and they both kind of need the win and whatever else, they've got that stipulation. Oh, no, but then you kind of, like you say, Bloodline Rules is pretty much the same match as well. We're quickly going to get to some of these comments here as well. Andre says, Cody Rhodes will finish his story because Roman Reigns doesn't have a story to finish. And also, a critic mentioned, did you see Bronson Reed's post, he deserves a moment now? I didn't see what that was all about. Did you, Rob?
Yeah, so he says that he's beat Sami twice on Raw.
Oh, okay.
So which is what I read earlier.
I could see that, him going into a feud with Sami Zayn for the IC title. So yeah. Thanks for the comment again, a critic. And Andre, anyone else in the chat or on the stream at the moment, feel free to let us know what you think is going to happen tonight and kind of fantasy book this as well along with us, if you will. Going back to the Bloodline situation, though, I just think for me, the bare minimum is Cody needs to win. And something needs to backfire for the Bloodline because we're already in Bloodline rules. So something needs to go wrong, right? Now, having a new member join, like Jacob or Zilla Fatu or Tamatonga or someone like that, to me, probably means Roman wins, right? So I'm a bit scared of that, or bringing in someone for them to kind of not help in the same way Solo does, because then they come in not as good as Solo, right? So I'm not sure if that's the right way to go about things because I don't want Roman to win or someone to be damaged as they come in. So it's a risky move. So let's say the extreme other side of that is John Cena shows up and Stone Cold shows up, and you know, like anyone that's been wronged by the Bloodline, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins even comes in to help as well. You never know. Dustin Rhodes, you know, gets a little kind of allowance from Tony Khan to come and do this one thing because Tony's a big wrestling fan and understands it. You know, there are several possibilities that go quite extreme in the other angle as well. But if we're going to kind of bring it down to like a basic expectation or want, again, it's for me, Cody wins, and something that the Bloodline does backfires on them. Now, to lift it up to the next level, that could be The Rock. That could be The Rock going, you know what? no, I'm not doing this anymore. And we've had a million reasons why The Rock could turn and help Cody Rhodes now as well. But for me, the main things that need to happen is Cody win and a Bloodline backfire. And Cody not, as we mentioned earlier on, not win because of someone else. He needs to win because it doesn't work again. Finally, their tricks have caught up with them or something like that. The score has been settled and whatever else by, even by other people, whatever it may be. But he can't be pinning someone after a Stone Cold Stunner or a rock bottom is what I'm saying.
I think
he needs to do his own
Cody
thing.
needs to win.
And it needs to be a good 5 minutes after whatever shenanigans have kind of even the odds, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, I feel like if Cody wins, he needs to win via the Crossroads. Like, I think that's how it needs.
Do you think we get like Brandy on screen tonight or anything like that?
I don't know, man. I mean, we had Mama Rose last night.
True. I do feel like we could have like the Nightmare Family, like DDP in the crowd,
DDP
and something like that. Because when he went into that match at All In, the first one, pre AEW,
the Nightmare Family.
Yeah, something like that. I think would be good because he didn't have that last year, and it would cement a little bit more that this is different. This year is different, and like these are the little touches as to why Cody got it over the edge this time and not last time. So it'll be good if we saw something like that. But what are your honest thoughts though on the main event? What do you think we're at least gonna get?
So I'm trying to be like realistic with it because I feel there's only so much you can do when it comes to these kind of bookings because it's a Bloodline rules match. We know people are going to turn up.
There will be chaos. Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's like, imagine if we went, oh well, they bring out the wrestling royalty of the Bloodline. So what? Does that really mean we get Rikishi and Haku and the Wild Samoans? Do you know what I mean? Like, there is so much Samoan heritage. Do they come out and do something? Or do we get, like, in my opinion, the way I think it should go would be kind of executed a lot better, be the equivalent of when it was Sting versus Triple H.
Yeah.
Out comes DX, NWO comes. And we get that moment. It makes a save. After that chaos ensures, they're gone, and it ends with Cody and Roman. I think that's what needs to happen. But I feel the people that have helped Cody up to this point, I think need to be taken out of very quickly. This is why I'm saying with Seth and Drew, I think it needs to be a point of Seth literally manhandles him so much that we know Seth isn't coming out. And then when Jay tries to come out to make the save, he gets battered by the Bloodline. So he can't make the So whoever then returns, we get that holy moment. So, I mean, if it's got to the point where Cody's being... And I think, I think we're going to see blood tonight. I think...
Yeah, I mean, if we saw it on Raw, there's definitely scope for it at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I think if there's ever a time to, I mean, just imagine this visual, right? Of Cody's in the middle of the ring, he's being pummeled by all members of the Bloodline. Blood's pouring out of his head. He needs help, and all of a sudden, glass shatters. And the Rock
the weird thing is it's unrelated to Cody, but obviously you've got that thing now with the Rock, and obviously also with Triple H. I don't think we will get Triple H because that muddies the waters a bit. But like they had this kind of, you better fix this. Remember that whole thing at the end of the kickoff show and stuff like that. That's got potential as well. I don't think it's likely, but you never know. Again, I never expected the NWO to help Sting. Andre wants to know where's AJ Lee and thinks AJ Lee versus Rhea Ripley would be a good match as well. Yeah, I think AJ Lee will, if I'm honest, will be showing up soon. You never know. Something random like that could happen in the Bayley Io Sky match. You never know. Like she could come out and be, or she'd have to come back as a babyface. But let's say Bayley loses and AJ Lee kind of makes the save or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not against that. That'd be, I won't mind that at all. It's just how you do it where it doesn't take the shine away from the rest of the women.
Especially with Bayley, because Bayley realistically should be getting this WrestleMania moment to win as well. As Michelle said earlier on, Io, fantastic performer, but the title reigns, it's not been amazing, is it? So it's not really set the world on fire or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree.
What from the main event? We'll go back to the main event again. What from the main event, Rob, would make you angry? Or like, no, let's say like we're both in the same boat, right? We both want Cody to win, right? Let's say Cody does win. What about Cody winning potentially could make you go, oh, that was kind of not what I hoped?
Oh man,
I guess the main one is if he takes advantage of like, again, like a rock bottom and just pin straight away is the main one for me.
I don't actually think I thought about that, like, because you think in your head it's going to be like this
perfect.
Actually, do you know what? I think if we don't get a perfect fairy tale ending, I generally think, like, weirdly, as much as I was like, Roman retaining is
you'd rather Roman,
I'd like if we're gonna do it and then it's not the ending that we want, Roman walks out victorious, but at the same time, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like when a story's gone on for do you know what this feels like? And I think you'll pop for this reference. Bearing in mind, I'm not a big fan of the show, and we know this, right? But for however many seasons on Game of Thrones, winter was coming, but the walkers were coming. Then when they finally got there, you were like, all right, something's happening. And it wasn't that good. Like, that's how it's going to feel like at the end of this thing if Roman retains. You think, oh, all this happened.
For
what reason?
Yeah.
Like, and it feels like that we can't have that moment. If this is a new era and it's a rebirth, or as Cody's saying, it's a renaissance era, whatever you want to call the damn thing. If this is Triple H's birth, because I think this is the last. Is this the last staging area that was booked before Vince went? So this was the last thing that was booked and prepped with Vince under control of the stadium and the arena.
Oh, okay, yeah, like from the start of the booking, not so much like the storylines going into this, but of the
last place. So because of that, I think this needs to outweigh everything. So it's like the whole thing now needs to be put to bed for the new era to begin. So for the new era to begin,
there needs to be a big shift, don't there?
There has to be, there has to be, to steal from Moxley, there has to be a paradigm shift to make the next Renaissance era become what it is. I think Cody has to win.
Yeah, that's I think the general consensus definitely has been on this show tonight. In the comments, if anyone's out there that thinks Roman should win, give us a shout as well. It'd be interesting to hear your kind of perspective on things. The critic says, touching on the whole AJ Lee thing, that CM Punk said on Raw in April. April as in AJ. We're not on Netflix yet. She thinks that was a little bit of foreshadowing, basically saying that AJ Lee might come back when WWE goes to Netflix. That's 2025, I believe. So a bit of time to wait if that's the case. But yeah, it would be cool to see AJ Lee back, and I do think it is somewhat inevitable, and I think that's going to be fantastic as well. I'd love to see who she pairs up with, and again, you never know. It might happen
she
tonight.
Comes back,
she could come back tonight as well. A few things to kind of mention just as we kind of get into this final hour now. We've got just under 45 minutes actually before the show kicks off. We've done a bit of extra podcasting lately, Rob. We've got this podcast video that we've just released on the best/worst WrestleMania logos. Basically, we go through every single one of them from 1984 to the present day, number 1 all the way up to number 40, and talk about the design elements behind them and kind of the cultural references and things like that. A really cool kind of in-depth analysis of the kind of, again, the design side of WWE WrestleMania as well. If you haven't already, we've got some great interviews on this channel as well, including conversations with LA Knight, and of course fellow Brits Pretty Deadly, who, by the way, had a fantastic little segment on WrestleMania, even though they weren't actually physically there as far as on camera at least. It was still a really fun kind of intro to that tag match. We've been talking quite a bit about the IC title and the kind of legitimacy that Gunther gave it, if you want to hear a little bit more about that and his thoughts on it, and also the thoughts of Ludwig Kaiser on that reign as well. And check out our conversation with him as well. Like I said, we are the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We're here to get you tonight hyped up for WrestleMania Night 2, but we also, again, have loads of content in the archive if you do want to dig a little bit deeper and kind of hear our thoughts on many interesting subjects, such as ECW watch along for One Night Stand, the original one. Of course, that's very kind of out, important at the moment because of Paul Heyman's induction to the WWE Hall of Fame as well. Been talking quite a bit about The Rock tonight, of course. We've got a fantastic little watch-along experience of SummerSlam 2002. It was referred to earlier on, the Babyface versus Babyface match at SummerSlam 1992. We have a watch-along of that as well. And, of course, there's looking like that we might get a similar situation in just a few months' time with this man right here, Mr. Drew McIntyre. Will he be champion going into Glasgow, or will he become champion in Glasgow? We'll all have to wait and see. But you know what? We're going to be covering it in depth on this channel, just like we have been for the past few years. We've had a great uptake in subscribers after the past few days as well. Been really, really good seeing, again, all these new kind of faces join the channel and new names popping up in the chats as well. Really have appreciated having you guys on board. And just really, really fun to talk wrestling. And again, get hyped up for, the biggest night of the year. I think it does feel like tonight is the bigger one. And there is always that case. I think when WrestleMania went 2 nights, at first we were like, oh, but like the real main event is night 2, right? And then they've done well in the past that kind of presenting them at least at, as equals, but, wink, wink, main event of night 2 is actually the real main event, but night 1 is still a great show. Whereas this year, it has felt, as we said earlier on in the stream, that night 1 is somewhat a preliminary to get to the main events on night 2. And that is a bit of a risk going forward because it's kind of potentially going to open up a scenario where certain wrestlers are feeling like they're on the kickoff show to WrestleMania by being on night 1, and we don't want that either. So it'd be interesting to see, again, once we step back from night 1 and 2, how we look at it as an overall package and if it flowed that well. And again, we're going to be hitting you with another podcast straight after WrestleMania goes off the air tonight, guys. We are going to be coming at you with the instant reaction review to all that has gone down on night 2. WrestleMania Sunday is just, like I say, under 45 minutes away now, but we will be back as soon as it ends, as soon as that final hand hits the mat and a bell has been rung and all the shenanigans have kind of faded away. We're going to be coming straight on here, hopefully in a better mood than we were when we came on last night to talk about what happened at night 1. If you do want to see our fresh instant reaction to everything that went down last night, of course, I know we ain't got much time to watch it now, guys. We're trying to get ourselves in the mood for night 2, and we're about to watch night 2. But if you do have some time, guys, I'd appreciate if you went back and watched our review of night 1 as well. But like I say, Rob, we're under 45 minutes away. Have you seen any big news floating around, any rumors or anything like that you're able to?
Only kind of what we've already touched on. I mean, I'm looking. There's a rumor that Snoop Dogg's going to be in attendance.
Okay.
Didn't
expect that.
I mean, Snoop Dogg just turns up, doesn't he? Does he need a reason?
He doesn't need an invite. I mean, last year, it was last year, wasn't it? When
it was.
He saved the day when Shane got injured. I've just seen a little thing going around that apparently Charles Robinson is going to be referee in Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Lil Nate is apparently the man with the stripes.
Can we? Do you know what I do feel like we need to touch on? How good was Samantha Irvin at her job last night?
Yeah, I can't remember who said it on commentary. It might have been Pat. Someone was like, "Oh, or it might be Michael Cole." But like, watching it, we were literally saying the same thing. Like, "Oh man, she's so good."
Like incredible. I mean,
and as much as the Sami Zayn moment isn't the moment I hoped for Sami Zayn or the IC title, don't get me wrong, we've been there already. The emotion in her voice was.
Did you see her reaction?
So good. Yeah, I saw the video of her doing it. Like,
that she does the call and then she sits back down.
Some people could look at that as like, I guess, unprofessional because she's not. Like, she should be professional and do a role, and it's got to sound like this. But I think it adds to the story. Do you know what I mean? And as much as this is a story I think shouldn't have really been told that way, it adds to it, makes it a little bit better. If that was Sami winning the world title, for example, that would have been the icing on the cake for me, you know. So I do appreciate what she brought to that moment.
So this is how I look at it, right? I know what you're saying, but for me, I feel like this adds an element of realism to everything that we want within professional wrestling, because it's like you get taken out of the moment when they go, and you're new, and you think, oh, you get to hear that crowning moment.
Yeah.
But once the announcer says it, you think, oh, what is happening now? Like we know it's happened. Like they've made that announcement. But with someone like Samantha Irvin, she doesn't have to tell the story and stuff like that. You get it in her voice. So the trembles in her voice when she says certain people, and like, you know, she says like Chelsea Green in the specific way that she does, and giving her that freedom, I think, builds a new layer to every single person in the right.
That is, I mean, the key word, freedom, because she's been able to show her personality.
Again, this is one of them things where, you know, when we say like, oh, women's wrestling should be like this and they should do it this way, and we're always criticizing specific things, and then we get a moment where we're like, okay, that's the chef's kiss of what you need. And again, there's another bold statement. You can say that I don't want to say I'm deluded, but I would say she's probably top 2 ring announcers I think we've ever had. I mean, you got Howard Finkel.
Top 2. That's a big claim. It's tough when someone is still doing it.
Imagine if she's doing it right now, and even if we said top 3, right? Finkel, Samantha Irvin, and then who else would you put in there?
I did look, Tony Kimm's style was a bit different to what I liked, but I did like things about him. I did like Justin Roberts. I did like who was the one a little while ago? Mike Rome, I think, had a good voice. Lillian Garcia, you know, like for nostalgia as well. So but at the same time, I think, but you know, the argument could be made: what if they were given that freedom? What if they were given that personality and stuff like that? So I think
this is the other thing as well, right? And I think it comes down to the fact that men have a lot more bass in their voice. It sounds like a real weird sidetrack, but because they have a bass in their voice, authority. They have it's like a strength in authority, like the way they speak,
right?
And with announcing is that, you know, when let's get ready to rumble, only one person can say it a specific way. But with Samantha Irvin, there's something about regardless of what you get her to say, the way she says Judgment Day,
it's character.
She adds the character. The person that she's announcing, she announces in a way that they should be treated and displayed.
Yeah, she adds to the entrance video graphics. Do you know what I mean? She's like the extra little kind of
little extra little. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think it's perfection. And that's what I'm saying. Like she's there, man. And if I feel like if she's in this conversation now, and she's not even anywhere near peak.
Yeah, she's only been doing it in WWE for a while, so
that's what I'm saying. So you know, her calling that, you know, and doing also doing both nights as well, and still, oh man, I'm so happy for her, in that aspect, because I know it's saying we don't say the same thing about, you know, the timekeeper, but they don't get that acknowledgement.
Yeah,
but when you're standing in the ring, and then you go and your opponent, they have obviously they've got all this emotion probably running through them, the adrenaline. They've got to go on and off, on and off, on and off, get all the calls correct, that how much they weigh,
a lot to
all
know,
of it's a big match. Yeah. And she's out doing it both nights of WrestleMania, all through WrestleMania.
Yeah. I think the thing is as well, WWE know what they've got with her. I know there was that thing a little while ago where they took away that bit of personal flavor to the Chelsea Green introduction, but at the same time, they are the ones putting out the videos. They know what people like her. They know people are invested in the way she does things. So they've been smart to kind of capitalize on that as well. And they've been smart
100%.
again to give her that freedom and give her that kind of ability to show a bit of personality and add personality again to these characters. She, just like Jim Johnson was back in the day, giving Stone Cold that incredible theme song to really kind of bring out that personality in music. And just like, as you say, there's kind of making those trons and stuff like that. She's adding to it as well. Going to get to a few more of these comments as well. We've got, where do we go? Vortex is back with us saying when Fluffy came out and at the Slammies, did you see the Slammies or anything in that, Rob?
No, sorry. I just got a call with something from Cody. Sorry, before we go on, you were saying if there's any news. So so Cody was on the Pat McAfee show, right?
Today?
I'm just trying to get during a recent appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Cody addressed The Rock's recent interview with Fox News about politics, right? And he said, and Rose said, "Am I a politician? Because that's what he said about me. Guess who's on Fox News this morning talking politics? Your boy Dwayne, The Rock Johnson." And then he's got, if The Rock wants to run for office just to pee him off seriously for office myself.
Oh, you broke up there. I didn't hear what you said. What was that last bit?
It's he declared that he might run for a political office, so it would anger The Rock. He said, if The Rock wants to run for office, just to pee him off seriously, though, just to make him more angry, maybe I'll run for office too. You know, I don't know that platform yet. It's just the whole.
Look,
oh man,
hold your horses, Cody. You got to get the title first, let alone get into the White House. But as Vortex says, Slammies wasn't Fluffy's first appearance. Of course, talking about the comedian here, Gabriel Iglesias.
I love Gabriel Iglesias, man.
He appeared on Fluffy's Food Adventures with Apollo Crews, a man who I haven't seen much of for a while. Now, segueing away from that, a man we haven't seen much of recently, but I'm so glad he's joining us back on the stream, is Mr. Dom Smith from Gimme a Whole Year, WrestleSphere, and Soundsphere. He's a man that wears many hats, but I like every single one of those hats, and here he is on the stream. Dom, how you doing?
Hello, mate. What a lovely introduction.
I try.
Nice to see you guys, and thank you for plugging all of my various bits. Not everybody remembers them all, so I appreciate it.
Get them in there, mate. Get them in there, and I'll give you another chance to tell the viewers later on as well. But how are you feeling, man, going into night 2 of WrestleMania?
You know what, dude? You know what? I'm as you know, I took a little dip. My wrestling, my love of wrestling took a dip after Bray died, after Wyndham died. I watched the wonderful documentary, Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal. That was really inspiring. And obviously, there's been some teases for some Uncle Howdy related stuff, which I won't spoil if nobody's seen them. But there's potential of the continuing story there. And not only that, the storytelling WWE are doing at the moment has been fantastic. The Cody Roman stuff. I mean, we've all been all in on that for about a year and a half. This is Cody's time. Booking last night was great. R-Truth winning his first. I'm spitting. I'm so excited about it. R-Truth winning his first WrestleMania, which was lovely. You know, R-Truth is a lovely dude. I've worked with him before. He's a nice guy. And then just seeing that, and then obviously some other great moments. Rhea Ripley becoming, reaching legend status, I think, after this WrestleMania. The Rock, actually, I'm not a big Rock fan traditionally, but he put on a great show last night. So it's a really good time to be a wrestling fan again. Obviously, there's some rumors around a potential new member of the Bloodline debuting tonight. Jacob Fatu, of course, rumored to have signed. Or at least that's what he's telling people. I'm a big MLW fan. If nobody's watched MLW, is watching the stream or watches this back,
it's good, man.
I would highly recommend you check it out. They have some great talent over there, and Jacob Fatu was a great example of that. So if indeed he has signed, it's a great get. But I would bet my left bollock that Cody is winning tonight. That is happening. Otherwise, my left testicle will drop off.
Mate, yeah, that's a scary bet because I feel like I would have done the same thing last year, and I'd be sitting there with just one.
That's it. I would have bet it last year, but I didn't. I was in the crowd.
You're lucky.
The crucial thing is I did not bet that testicle.
Good. You're still living on 2. I'm glad to hear.
I'm living on 2. They are both. They're hanging pretty low. I'm getting old, but they are there, intact. So I'm back into wrestling a little more. I'm not doing late night podcasts anymore. Of course, Dan and Anthony and Sam are doing a great job over on Give Me a Hull. Yeah, I just pop on to the, to the stuff I like, just pop on and hang out, talk wrestling with good people. And so if I can do that with Give Me a Hull, I always do. And if I can do that with Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling, of course I will as well. It is wonderful to be back here and lovely to see you guys again, if not face to face, within the digital realm, lads.
That's it, mate. It's always a privilege to have you on board, and always exciting to get your enthusiasm as well. You mentioned earlier on, you kind of dipped out when, the sad news around Bray Wyatt. Of course, I know we've talked about on this channel and, of course, on your own channels as well in the past, how much of a fan you were. And I'm sure still are, of course, of Bray's work, because that will live on for a long time. I haven't actually seen, and I know there was a tribute to Bray on the Hall of Fame, and because what it's like, WrestleMania week, you're trying to cram everything in. It's hard to do it these days. I'm looking forward to watching that, and I still haven't seen that documentary either. So kind of leading from that, is there anything because again, I know it's it's a sad thing to kind of mention, but like that made you step back a little bit. I know WrestleMania is the easy kind of answer of like what's getting you back into things at the moment, man, because WrestleMania is WrestleMania. But is there anyone kind of grabbing your eye at the moment that you're thinking, you know what, I'm gravitating towards them a little bit more than I thought I would have?
That's an interesting question, man. I've always respected, the people in the Judgment Day. I think the Judgment Day have been a solid faction for a long time now. I am looking forward to the potential return of Taylor Rotunda, Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, whatever. So that's exciting. But in terms of character work, pretty much the Judgment Day, I've always been a great fan of R-Truth, and it's lovely to see him getting his due. He's had his dues everywhere else. People forget he was a TNA/NWA champion.
Yep.
He's been a champion everywhere else, but to see him have a WrestleMania moment, that was great. I've always been a fan of his work. I love the comedy on NXT. My type. My type. So I like watching Joe Gacy's work. I think he's great. He got a win in NXT, which it was a huge deal. Yeah, that was a huge deal for him to get a win, because he doesn't win very often. So that was nice. Carmelo and Trick. The Trick Williams. I think Trick Williams is the next big star in WWE.
I agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing Julia as well. Julia was teased at NXT.
Yeah.
But in terms of character work, I think the Judgment Day, and I don't think anybody, because the as cliche as it sounds, lads, the Rock Cody stuff's been cinema. It's the kind of thing, when people say, we've probably talked about this on a podcast previously. This is the modern day equivalent to what you would show someone, like you would say if someone who wasn't into wrestling, you'd be like, oh, Mankind and Undertaker in the Cell, or Stone Cold. And to be fair, Stone Cold and The Rock back in the day, you would show that to somebody who wasn't a wrestling fan. You could probably figure out a way to get them back into it or into it for the first time. This, I feel like, not only because The Rock is, taking time out of his, Hollywood schedule to be here, but I think, the Cody Rock stuff, it has been fantastic. Seth's involvement has been really well done. There's a documentary that's coming out on WrestleMania 14 on the card, and Triple H said it was called on the fly. They were going to do Rock and Roman. That was the lock, and then of course the fan support for Cody's been amazing. So Cody finishing the story is just it will be cinema. This will be overbooked to all hell. But it's been a long time, I'll tell you, lads, and obviously the Give Me a Hull podcast, as I say, it's been a long time since I've wanted to be up at this time talking about wrestling. These days, obviously, with me doing my client work and my counseling, I don't really stay up late now because I'm up early in the mornings, but I have a day off tomorrow to allow for recovery time from WrestleMania. And I haven't done that in maybe 2-3 years.
Right.
Obviously last year we went as fans, but aside from that, I haven't really been, wanting to stay up and watch wrestling, wanting to stream things. So, this will, again, everything's going to be overbooked. And you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I'm actually looking forward to a sleeper match, LA Knight and AJ Styles. I think that will be the sleeper, that could be a real match of the night candidate. I think both of those guys are, obviously, they've always got something to prove. AJ Styles is one of the best in the world. He'll go down as a surefire Hall of Famer in WWE. I'm TNA and other places. But if anybody can make LA Knight look good, and this is LA Knight's time to shine, you know, they need to really build his momentum up again.
Yeah.
And I think AJ Styles will make him look good, and I think it'll be a great match. You know, so yeah, there's a lot to be excited about, lads. And I mean, maybe it's just being here and talking to you guys, but like, you know, talking about it reminds me what I loved about it in the first place: the spectacle, the theater, the you know, that sort of stuff is why I like wrestling. It's escapism, and I think tonight will be a great example of the theater, the great theater of pro wrestling. You know, I mean, look no further than Paul Heyman's speech last night. You know, that was just masterful. You know, and I think that's a wonderful way to use a Hall of Fame speech. He put over everybody else, and that's, you know, I think,
and the young up and comers as well. You know, told us the ones that I think even him saying like Jay Cargill's name, for example. Everybody knows she looks like she's some future star that they're trying to push, but hearing him go, it does get your ears up and go, Heyman's paying attention to them. All right, so will I, you know? Yeah,
of course. And I think, you know, I think it's a great example of for me, how people, you know, how just a good use of your pedestal, your platform, put people over, help people out, lift people up. I think, you know, it was a really good example of that. And then, you know, again, another great example of the great theater of this industry is I think it was Roman Reigns post-show, the press conference. Our you know, our friends and acquaintances that are over there, you know, were able to ask some questions, and it's pretty entertaining if you see Roman's answers. And people are like, oh, he's legitimately angry, and I'm like, nah. He's just.
I mean,
he's just,
you got to remember at Clash he did the same thing, didn't he? Just walked out, you know. So because I was thinking the same thing, you know, like if I was in that room, how would I have felt if that was me? Like, part of me would have felt honored, but part of me would have felt embarrassed. You know, like it was.
And that's the idea. You know, that's it. And you know, we're lucky enough to have been in those rooms, and it's an extension of the art form. And anybody that thinks it's any different is, you know, those things are by design. They have a plan for those two. So certainly, you know. If you felt Roman was actually angry, you were worked, brother, and that's exactly what they want. You know,
that's what it's all about. And I mean, in recent years, it's been the big kind of big time champions who have tried their best to stay in kayfabe. You know, you're talking MJF, you're talking Roman Reigns as well. So we've got a few more comments here. A Critic Galaxy really hyped up now. I'm so ready. Come on, Cody. The Vortex as well. Cody, we believe you can do it. Ultimately, Dom, is that where you're going with a prediction as well? Do you think Cody? He's doing it this time round.
Man, 100%. You know, if you ask Anthony, he's got a very different prediction, but he's the only person in the world that thinks. And he was right. You know what? He was right last year. And if he watches this, you know, I think he's down south at the moment with his lovely lady friends. So I don't think he will be watching anything tonight. But he is the only person in the world, because he was right last year. He's convinced he's right this year too. And there's some bigger plan, obviously, to have Roman, because I think if Roman wins, doesn't he, like, there's some record he breaks?
Yeah, we were talking about earlier on. He's close to Hogan's record, which is always a temptation, just like 1,000 Days was last year. But it's at the detriment. We were saying Skillet. I know you're a fan of Skillet's work as well. He was on the podcast earlier on, and we were saying like it's at the detriment of like what's going on today. It's all well and good for the record books, but let's not ruin what we've got with Cody Rhodes.
The only thing that I could see where Anthony would be correct again, he is the only person that is saying against the Cody win.
Yeah.
You know, he's Gunther. Gunther's record was. I was surprised Gunther lost.
Me too.
No, I'm very happy for Sami Zayn, but I saw was it a tweet or a post where you had commented that you didn't really feel anything around it. And
I was upset about that. I really was. I love Sami Zayn and I love the Gunther reign. But for me, and we've mentioned it a few times tonight and on our review last night as well, it just felt clashing of two things that didn't need to happen. Sami needed that moment for the world title. And again, as much as I love what's going on with Drew and I understand these things clash, that's what that needed to be. And this person in that spot needed to be someone like Gable. So it was a really tough thing. And I do think Rob made a great point that at least we've got the comfort of knowing Gunther is free to do the next thing now. So there is that at least. But giving it to, you know, 4-time champion Sami Zayn, it was hard to get as excited as I think we should.
To be honest, I feel the same. I feel the same way in a lot of ways that you do, and I love Sami Zayn as well. I'm very invested in his character, I'm very much in agreement with you. And that's the only wrinkle that I can see in everybody's Cody wins plan, because they've already broken a big streak.
Yeah.
So, but you know, they've got to do it. They've got to do it. You know, I mean, Gunther. The flip side is obviously I've heard. I think it was you guys were talking about it earlier. Actually, when I popped on, you know, this puts Gunther in the main event scene. He is now firmly. But then I think somebody was talking about, you know, Gunther versus Cody. Great idea, but where does Gunther go straight into a match with Cody? Because if he is, he's losing. So, you know,
that's the problem.
He needs to do something else for a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, if you want to put Gunther with Cody, that's a dream match and a half, but it's not something Gunther can win. So I would, you know, I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Go on. Yeah,
I was going to say that's a great point, because we're all fantasy booking, you know, Berlin as the time that Gunther's in the main event with a title, but really what he does need is to stay away from a title before he steps it back up. And yeah, I was thinking, what feud can you do? Because we've for so long NXT UK champ for like 17 years, it felt as well. You know, it feels like he's had a title pretty much his whole time he's been in WWE. So like, it feels weird to see him in a non-title feud. And I'm thinking, who could it be? What could it be? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because the title for him will be him being a superstar in Berlin. Again, yes, he's Austrian, but he cut his teeth in Germany, and we all know about that. So, like, this is actually a really good time for him. It doesn't have to be for a title. He can actually have a mega feud in Berlin, and then after that, move on, like you say, to Cody Rhodes eventually.
Yeah, and you know what? I could see Gunther being the guy to dethrone Cody down the line. There's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely firmly believe Gunther should have at least one championship run, world championship run. And I believe Triple H loves him enough, and the team behind the scenes love him enough to do that. Yeah. But it can't be for a while. You know, Cody's got to have 6 months plus with that belt now. I would say the only other thing in terms of just going off my neurodivergent brain going off on one, the other big thing that I think is happening tonight is Drew's getting his moment. And Drew, I've really enjoyed Drew. I've really enjoyed, particularly his social media game has been absolutely so fire. I see you, those fists peeking out of your lovely Adidas jacket there. You are rocking the CM Punk shirt. I don't think we've probably had a text or two, and obviously, you know, try and keep in touch, but I don't think we've really spoken too much about the CM Punk stuff. So I'll just be brief on this. I love what Drew's done, and I honestly think Drew has has kept CM Punk relevant, and I'm a CM Punk fan. But CM Punk could have faded into commentary. I mean, he is obviously a commentary, but Drew's kept CM Punk relevant. He's kept Seth relevant. I'm a massive fan of Drew McIntyre now, more than I ever have been, more than I was when we were doing, you know, when it was pandemic and we were all doing the media stuff, and Drew was great with all of us. I've long liked him, but I'm a big fan now, and this is the first time I've ever been a big Drew fan. I think his comedic chops have been shown. His character work has been great as a heel. I think he's a way better heel than he is a face. And eventually, the CM Punk match, I think CM Punk should put him over. Personally,
I agree.
But that's my CM Punk. It should be Drew's first feud for the title, because Drew's winning. I'll bet my right testicle on that.
Might be losing both here.
man, you text me tomorrow, and I'll be maybe in a different mood, but I doubt it. I wouldn't. I don't just bet them, you know, the danglers. I don't just give them up for anybody, you know.
This is a big deal.
That's not what we've heard, Dom.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe I should have kept quieter about what I do with the danglers in the extra time, the post show, as it were. What were we saying? Yeah, no. Drew gets my right testicle. No, Drew. This is Drew's time, and and I think you'd find anyone hard pushed to argue. He needs a moment in front of fans. He is obviously at a certain time in his career. I don't think he needs to hold the belt for years. I think it just needs to be a few months. I'm not saying Punk can't win a rematch.
Yeah.
But I think Punk should put him over the first time. I think Drew should beat him once, retain the title, and then maybe Punk wins it one time before he retires. But Drew has been absolutely fantastic, and I fully expect him to win tonight, along with Cody.
I really hope you're right about that, because not only for your testicles' sake, but also just because it feels right for Drew, like, as you say, he's been really entertaining recently. I mean, that the height of, him going into Mania and then the world shutting down was a shame, but he was on fire then. And then he was great through that period, but he got a little stale, and then he got a new lease of life going into Cardiff, and we thought, you know what, this is the time, and it didn't work out. And obviously we've mentioned it already, but we're heading to Glasgow soon for another clash as well, so be interested to see how they use him there. But ultimately, I think the CM Punk situation has been a blessing in disguise when it comes to someone like Drew McIntyre. He's been able to make the most out of it, and everything from him visiting Mindy's bakery to the t-shirt he made, everything, even the Slammies had said, they were seeing Punk chants, and it was like, he'd like to come up here, but he'd probably get injured. Like, he's played into it so well. And I'm with you as well. Like, give him the belt, have him beat CM Punk, and eventually you've got to give, because CM Punk will give that you've got to remember, it's a new title, give that credibility as well. And I think that's a good way to go about things as well.
So, you know what, this version of Drew, we kind of got a tease of it, and I feel like it's just dawned on me at what point we got it as well. Do you remember what WrestleMania was it where all hell was breaking loose due to weather and Samoa Joe was in a punch-out? So if you remember back then,
him and Lashley,
Drew was being interviewed, right? And and he was like, "Can we turn this way? I don't want my back. I want to see who's coming in." So I feel like we've always had this version of Drew, but he's never been seen that way. And
but basically, like you say, he had a bit of creative freedom because the world was going a bit mad as far as leading into its first WrestleMania in front of live fans again. And for context, basically, anyone that really understand where Rob was coming from here, there was the delay in WrestleMania, and they had to kind of kill time. And Drew did this fantastic interview, and we talked about it so much on the night. And this is why I love these build-ups, because we were kind of talking about all the chaos that was going on that night. But basically, Drew did this interview where he kind of wouldn't have had that opportunity or need to do it, but he kind of was filling for time, and he was looking at things, and he did things outside of what felt like script. And it was like, man, this guy is a performer. Like, he can turn it on. And now that he's a heel, obviously we all know being a heel gives you a little bit more creative license, it feels sometimes as well. You're right. We saw kind of sparks of that in that era.
Yeah. Like, sorry, I was going to say, like, it felt like this was what was yet to come. And I always feel like with someone like Drew, when you take away, I don't want to take away from Cody's song, but to take away freedom, you lessen the person as a whole, because people like Drew, if you watch him back in ICW, he had a lot more freedom, so he would, obviously there was a bit more profanity within like words. However, that was Drew. Like, he's Scottish. That's kind of their culture, if you know what I mean. Like, that's how they address things. Like, if you walk down the road and you don't get called an effing something, you're not really in
just
Scotland,
a quickly sidetrack. I saw a clip of Rhea Ripley calling Austin Theory a dickhead, basically, and a lot of the comments were like, "Did she just call?" And then there was an Australian in the comments going, "That's just like what we do." Like, it's it's a bit of, it is different, but
it really is. So like to get Drew to kind of be in that position now, and you think, man, he's just being an arse. Like, he's just being, and I'm thinking, but that's just Drew. Like, this is the Drew that we know. Like,
he's just having fun. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
He's bringing realness, like reality, to wrestling, especially if it's a Renaissance era and Triple H is all for it. Man, I think wrestling is just it's going to thrive even more. So we're so lucky to be able to see it progress.
We are absolutely. And just want to shout out, of course, Andy Spores is out there at the moment having a great time. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself, Andy. You deserve a good break. And of course, to our friends like Alistair at Metro, who's doing a great job covering the covering the work. So there's some wonderful people out in Mania at the moment, and some wonderful events going on. I would have given anything to be part of, to see that the Bray panel that was at WWE World. WWE, as much as I've enjoyed my time away from the spectacle and everything, that is the key word. They have put on the show of shows. This has always been branded the show of shows, and they have put that on. This is from top to bottom. It has been a spectacle. And last night I thought was great. People are ripping on, the Usos match. I thought it was as good as it could have been. There were improvements you could make, of course, but I thought it was as good as it could have been. And I think the best is yet to come. I think they know exactly what they were doing, putting this card together for night 2. Great work all around. I give time away is giving me perspective on stuff. Maybe I'm a little bit sweet, on it, because I'm not doing 3-hour watch-alongs on a Monday or 2-hour watch-alongs on a Friday anymore. I'm just popping in as a fan or popping on to shows. But certainly it's exciting. It really is, and watching. Seeing William Regal back in the crowd and things like that. They've just come. I don't want to get too off WWE and WrestleMania, of course, but I had a period of really enjoying AEW and kind of just going off WWE, but WWE have really pulled everybody back in around the world. There are lapsed fans who have popped back on to see the Cody story finish, to see The Rock. To see how The Rock's doing. That they've done a fantastic job of pulling older fans back in, or lapsed fans or people that have lost interest. This is the perfect time. Cody becomes champion. The Rock, The Rock. We see The Rock and The Rock and Roman's happening next year. As a result of this, I think I firmly believe. That's why I'm betting the lefty, is because The Rock is going to help Cody win. The Rock is. How else are they going to get to Rock and Roman? Because we know it's going to happen. And how is it going to happen? If how else is it going to happen? They're not going to do it. Oh, right, you helped me retain my title. Let's be mates. And I'm tribal chief. I'm above you, Rock. Bollocks.
Yeah, well,
that's
the moment could be tonight. It could be in 3-4 weeks. It could be in 2 months. Because they're trying to get the most of this heel Rock scenario
that's
as well.
True,
But it's definitely coming. And like you say there, like we're kind of on the cusps of greatness here, as far as like that new, the dawning of the new era, as Rob's been saying as well. It really feels that way, and that's why. 4 or 5 hours time, whenever it is, when we come back on the stream later on to kind of do a little bit of an instant reaction take, I'm hoping it hasn't all gone south and we're like, what, they ruined it. They missed the opportunity, like it felt like they had done with Cody last year. But it's all been leaning towards, hopefully, a bigger plan and a bigger story. Dom, I know your time is precious, mate, and you are about to get set up for watching and enjoying, hopefully, night 2. But I want to say thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
I've just got one question, by the way.
Go on.
Before we can wrap up. Obviously, Dom, you're a huge Bray Wyatt fan. Obviously, the touching tribute, if you got to see the Hall of Fame, the touching tribute from the Wyndham family, do you think there is a right time for them to bring back Uncle Howdy? And if so, do you think that's the right thing to do? Because, in my opinion, I think as long as it's done tastefully and it credits the legacy of Bray, because if they do it and bury the character, I think it pays more disrespect than respect.
Yeah.
So, do you think it should happen at all, or do you think it should be? Very. So
this could be a 7-hour podcast with Dom, which we've got to appreciate.
I'll keep it. No, I'll keep it. Thank you so much for asking the question, man. As well, it's like it's just good for me. It's for both. It's for Taylor's career. Keeps him. He's been with WWE for 2 years. They didn't want to rush him back. I think he does something with the Uncle Howdy gimmick and then moves on to, I think they'll go with the dual personality thing. Yeah. They'll take elements of Bray, but they'll also give, because I don't think they can afford to make it a carbon copy of what Bray did because he'll just be branded a ripoff. But I think, from what I saw, and it was hinted at in the documentary, not to spoil it for you, Scott, But Jason Baker's involved. Jason I've spoken to a number of times. He was the guy behind the masks and the suits. You can see interviews across platforms with Jason that I've done. He's a lovely guy, and he is working with Taylor on this. Alexa Bliss is in the documentary expressing her love for that the program that she did with Wyndham. And I think if you had Braun will be coming back soon, so Braun, maybe give Rowan, maybe bring Rowan back. All these people knew Wyndham, knew the law of Bray Wyatt. So what I'm saying is Triple H believed in it too. Triple H, I'd be very interested because there's some very candid comments, very honest comments about working with Bray from Triple H. Not all of them good, but I believe that Triple H believed in Bray, what he was doing, and so I believe he'll try his best to make this happen. And obviously, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be good. I believe it will be. I think Uncle Howdy comes back, and that leads to Taylor doing something else. I think they'll bring the Uncle Howdy character back at first, and then Taylor will do something else. I believe Alexa Bliss will be rooted into the story somehow. Braun Strowman as well. All these people again knew Wyndham, knew the lore of the character, so it's in good hands. And the other, I guess that the question to throw back is, what else are they going to do? You have this character that is, that was unfinished. There's still plenty of mileage in it. People clearly. It's a wider conversation. But I would say people complained about the spooky S word when Bray was around. But a lot of people miss it now. A lot of people have missed it since he's been gone. So I think, and it's been people have been vocal on social media that that kind of character, can still work if done appropriately. And I'm not saying Taylor or Bo, Uncle Howdy, starts spitting blood or black goo from the mouth. I think we stay away from that, but I think you can do a very interesting character. And let's not forget, Taylor / Bo is a former NXT champion. I mean,
great talent in his own right.
I like the B team. Not a lot of people did, but and the social outcast. But let's give him a shot. Let's give him a shot. And there's plenty of good character work to be done. In honor of Bray and in honor of the legacy. If it creates some jobs for some people, what is the harm in that? If it keeps if it keeps people like me who are into the spooky weird stuff, because I don't have anything that is what I'm most excited about, because I don't have anything like that. As much as I love the Cody stuff, I need that, because for me wrestling is escapism. I don't take it, I don't take it as seriously as some people. I go to look at this, to see the weird, spooky stuff. That's my vibe. So if Uncle Howdy comes back for a bit and then Taylor gets his time to shine, I'm all for it, dude.
Yeah, I agree. So just to follow up what you said, I think the last time we had something spooky like that wasn't The Undertaker or Kane. Obviously, we had the backstage stuff with Mankind, but it felt like the only other company that really solidified spookiness in its weird creativity of wrestlers was Lucha Underground. And I feel Bray would have.
Oh man, you are speaking my language. Anybody just watching this show that's got a spare, you've got 1 hour. Go and watch a Lucha Underground. That was cinema. That was legit. That was their mission statement, wasn't it? And actually, talking about Jacob Fatu, who probably showing up tonight, fingers crossed. MLW was as closest damn it to that. They have Lucha Underground elements. Anyway, sorry I interrupted you, mate. You were saying about the
but yeah, stuff. It just felt like if Bray wasn't in WWE, that's where his character, and it would have been immense. So if they bring a Lucha Underground-esque version of Uncle Howdy in, done the correct way, even you said it's just for a short period of time before we get Bo. Like as you said, the switch personality of it is always Bo, but then Uncle Howdy appears for certain reasons. Yeah. I'm all for it, because it pays a detriment to what Bray was, because we didn't know what this new Bray character was. So we get to live it through Bo the same way that we would have got it as Bray. Then I think I'm all for it.
Exactly. And fundamentally, if it creates some jobs, if it keeps Bo in a contract for a longer, for the next 10 plus years, that's cool with me. If it gives Braun Strowman something to do that commemorates Wyndham and Bray, because that's the core, is that it commemorates and is there to
A
support.
fine line to tread, isn't it?
And you know, the Fireflies, you know, get there, you know, get to put the lights up for Uncle Howdy, for Braun Strowman, for Alexa Bliss. Hell, if they bring Joe Gacy up, if they bring somebody new in, you know, to the new, you know, anybody from, say, NXT or developmental, you know, if it creates opportunities for people, I'm all about that. You know what I mean? So it is. I'm very excited about it. And there's plenty of, for those that haven't seen them, I can't tell you where the first one is because it spoils the documentary. So just go and watch the documentary. And there's also been one at the WWE World this weekend. Another tease for Uncle Howdy's return. So check those out if you're Brave fans.
I'm eager to look into that. I mean, we all know the kind of Easter egg hunt that led to Bray's return and how exciting that was anyway. But
no, exactly. But just very, very briefly before I go, like that sort of stuff. I mean, you know, for people that aren't spooky fans, people got into it, man. Like, it was 100%. A huge deal. But that's what I mean. You were into it. Like people were into it. You know, and it's amazing. You know.
Yeah, I'll never forget the moment he come back and that I'm just so appreciative for that alone out of his final run. Again, it was a sad ending and stuff like that, but
both of you message me when you've seen the doc and let me know what you think.
I will do.
It's particularly the last part, very emotional.
I'm sure it will be. I've got to be prepared to watch it. I haven't slept enough this week to take that emotion on board.
Yeah, right. I got emotional. I got emotional when the return, like when they done the Hall of Fame thing.
The Hall of Fame. I still got to see that as well.
That got me teary, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't think I'm ready to watch this Bray thing."
Yeah, that's what
I want to get Mania out of the way.
Yeah,
and do it.
Yeah. Definitely find a way to watch it if you can, because it is wonderful. And again, lads, enjoy WrestleMania. It's been a real pleasure. You know, I don't do many of these days, so I really missed.
Dom, I want to say though, you said an hour. You know, it's starting now, right?
Oh wow! Okay.
We don't have the hour for Lucha Underground.
Watch it after.
Now.
Right, I'll say cool, guys. I'll see you in a bit. Enjoy Mania, and much love to both of you. And
so good having you on, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Take care. Bye, guys.
See you later, buddy. Once again, thanks to Dom for coming on board. We've had him tonight, but you can check him out on Give Me a Whole Year, WrestleSphere, and Soundsphere as well. Follow me on Instagram and also on Twitter. We had the information popping up earlier for all of our special guests, which we really do appreciate. Every single one of them coming on, from Andy Spores to Skillet, to Dom, and of course Rebellious Noise friend, part of Rebellious Noise, of course, on the football side of things, in Michelle as well. But thank you very much to you, Rob. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how this night goes down. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Apologies if we haven't managed to get to as many as we would have liked. You've been firing away all night, and we really appreciate that. WrestleMania is on. Let's watch it, let's enjoy it, and let's come back later on for the instant reaction. Take care, guys. Enjoy night 2.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.